Good morning. I would like to welcome our viewers on Arkan and our commissioners to the quarterly meeting of the Arkansas PBS Commission. We're glad you're with us today. We'll start out with the approval of minutes from the last commission meeting, which I know the commissioners received. And if there are no questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
I move we accept them as submitted.
There's been a motion made. Is there a second? Second made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. The motion passes. Next, I've got a chairman's report today. We have, if I don't know, if some of you may not even be familiar with SB 184. It's a bill that was filed by Senator Sullivan, Maria's husband, of some of his concerns with the commission. And I can say, as of yesterday, we had an excellent meeting with Senator Sullivan. And we've worked out our differences. And we're going to place some emphasis on some education, some other education issues, as well as homeschooling, which is near and dear to his heart. And I threatened him. I said I was going to tell Maria that he volunteered for a bunch of stuff, and he let me know that might be a deal killer. But it went very well, and we're working well together, and I think that we've solved all our differences. And so we look forward to going into the future with this new resolve. As our 2024 audit came back, there were no procurement findings, and there was one note on a career service recognition, which evidently just about everybody in Arkansas state government got. We were all calculating the service that people had undertaken the wrong way. So I think everybody might have got that note. Did everybody get it, or just
I don't know
us?
that everybody got it, but a number of agencies.
But we got it. We were one of them.
We did. We
So,
got one. So that was our one finding.
Okay. And I would like to say we have, if you've got your, what in my, we couldn't get her to come down here. I told her I wanted her to make a speech, but she's a little shy. We've got a 24-year-old employee that's worked with us for 6 months, and according to her supervisor, she has worked miracles, and this is one of them. Her name is Emily Brands. Brands, okay. And so I just want to give her a little shout out, because this is pretty impressive, for a young lady to put out. And she's also done, what else has she worked miracles on? On the handbook.
Yeah, she produced a
good, good.
She does all of our graphics now too. I said she does all of our graphics now, so she's working hard behind the scenes.
Good.
So basically, many of these things, am I correct, are CPB things that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting emphasizes community engagement, and so a lot of the things that we gather for CPB, for our reports, is also in here as a community report. So.
Okay. And I also want to welcome Aaron Lowry today as a visitor. Oh, excuse me. But I just made a deal with him. He's not going to be a visitor next time. He is our representative with the Attorney General's office, and he's volunteered to come every commission meeting and cover about 5 minutes on corporate governance, which is one of Senator Sullivan's issues too. And Gary asked him to come today, so I thought that was a good idea. And you did agree to that, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. So we've got it on video here. So I don't know when we're going to work him in. We'll get you in other business. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. And I'll pass it to Courtney.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm not going to give a long, drawn-out report. I mean, you can read it, so there's no point in me doing that. But I do want to, and more time for the team to talk about everything that we're doing. But I do want to emphasize a couple of things. One is unveiled Daisy Bates and Johnny Cash, our documentary that we've made over the past year or so. And we are just so proud of that film. I think it's one that will make every Arkansan that sees it, and hopefully that will be just about every Arkansan, feels the pride of, living in Arkansas and what we're about. And I think it really does capture that in a great way. So that is premiering this month, and on the 19th we're having a big community get-together at Ron Robinson Center, not Ron Robinson the theater, but the big one. Doors open. Joe T. Robinson. Is that what it's called?
That's after our senator.
But is it called Joe T. Robinson Center?
Well, that's the person.
I know that's the person's name for it, but
No, but you said the Ron Robinson Center. I'm sorry, I corrected
Oh,
you
I'm
in
sorry.
your own report.
I said that 'cause
Ron Robinson was pretty influential.
I said that.
but-
From day one, I thought, why are there two Robinson Centers,
Well, there's
3
Ron
blocks for each
Robinson's
other?
the library.
But I do know Ron
Yes.
Robinson is the one that's more of a movie theater. Right. So doors will open. It's a free event, so anyone watching this on Arcan, 6 o'clock the doors open, and at 7 o'clock the film starts. So that should be a great time to pull a lot of people together that will love this film. There'll be a great panel along with it and some special guests. So look forward to that. And the following night, it will premiere on our air, in all of our platforms. You can see it wherever you can watch Arkansas PBS now. So that's 7 p.m. on the 20th of March. The other thing I'd like to talk about a little bit is education aligned, and that is Mystery League that you all are familiar with. We made it here at Arkansas PBS, and it has been picked up nationally by PBS Kids. So it's on all the national platforms, filmed in Arkansas. All the locations are Arkansas, all the people. Gary's in it, come to think of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Gary's wife, Alana's in it as well. I mean, so as you're watching that series, it's amazing because you'll be watching your friends and neighbors who are also on national television. I mean, how amazing is that? But we're showing the talent that's in Arkansas. We're teaching kids across the country as well as Arkansans about social studies and what it means to be a citizen. And it's fantastic. It's something that we had, Sajni and I had allowed ourselves to have a little dream about when we started it, but acknowledge that it would be really like going through the eye of a needle for it to get picked up nationally, because there's so little, it just doesn't happen. And we made it on our own. So normally they make it where they're aware of what's going on. We had it already, and they said, can we have it? So wherever you are on the 21st of March, download that PBS Kids app, really. You can see it on the 24/7 channel, you can see it on YouTube, but simple little free app, and you just download it and you will see Arkansas on there, which I think is just amazing.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to
Yes, amen.
Sodner's producer, I believe. And, I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, there's 50 states. How many they pick up a year?
They don't.
So, like, we're the
I'm
only one
saying
this year?
they don't. What
Okay.
they do
Unheard
is,
of.
they will know ahead of time. Very few stations make national content.
Yeah.
And for the kids' content, 90% of it, I'm pulling that out of my head, but roughly at least, or 95, is WGBH in Boston.
Yeah.
And Twin Cities Public Television has done 1 or 2. They have a new one coming on called Skillsville. But that was an arrangement, from day one, that they would produce a show that PBS was interested in having it produced. And so they worked with. We did it, all on our own, dreamed it up with Department of Education, And there you have it. I mean, it really is sort of an impossible thing that this team did. So,
Now,
yay.
I mean, I might be wrong, but it seems like I read in an article somewhere that, and you education folks will know a lot better than I am, but we haven't given social studies as much emphasis as we need to in our education, and it kind of gotten away from it, from when most of us were in school. But,
It's also apparently hard.
am I right about that?
Yeah,
Or is
I mean,
that-
there's not nearly as much of it, but I think what I've heard from educators is that social studies is much more difficult to teach consistently across the state, because it's not teaching numbers and it's not teaching letters, and it's a lot more, I mean squishy in the best of all possible ways. I see Ann's looking for a way to,
Well, no, just in the real practical sense of things, it's not a tested subject.
right,
And so when you're looking at where to devote your energy and your time,
right,
you're going to look at the tested subjects, and social studies is not one of those.
right.
It should
That's
be.
right. So,
should be.
so the idea was that by telling stories with characters that kids get involved with and watch over and over as kids do those kinds of things, that they would absorb the curriculum without even being aware of it. And I think that's what's
Yeah.
happening.
And what we did well, and I think one of the reasons why we were successful, is we went into the writer's room knowing what the standards for that grade level were, the curriculum standards. So we went in with a mission. And then we created these stories that taught and engaged, entertained and taught at the same time. And social studies is one of the best places that storytelling is a great way to educate, because it is about people and things like that, and community and working together and all those things. So yeah, we went in, I think we covered over 50, I think I'm lowballing it, maybe 50 or 80 Arkansas social studies standards. But then when National looked at it, we had covered 80 to 100 for every single state and their standards. So we covered ours, and that was the mission. And then we did it well, that it also was those state standards. So we're very proud of what we did, but we were very mindful that we put the curriculum first. Let's teach something, and now let's make it fun and engaging, and a story that a kid, would want to hear. So
And watch over and over.
I hear there's lots of Mystery League kids. Like they say, when I have a teacher I work with, she goes, yeah, my daughter runs around the house and says, I'm on the case, because that's what we said.
I love that. You
So,
totally-
yeah, it's sweet.
That's
So,
great.
Well, I'm afraid to ask. Have we won an Emmy for that one?
5.
5 Emmys, okay. Well, I saw a bunch of that. Is that
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
the
we
bunch
won
of the
5.
front cover?
I think we got nominated for 11 for Mystery League and won 5 of them. So
Okay.
it was, and
Well,
we did.
congratulations again.
Yeah, and we did for the 2 main categories. Like we were up against like Lainey Wilson, like Doc. We won for entertainment long form and instructional long form. I mean, that's what you hope for. So
Both, yeah.
Excellent.
So a little teaser that there will be some news soon, about a little chunk of funding to make another kids series. So we're really excited about that one. More to come soon.
And it comes about as a result of the success that you've had with Mystery League.
yes.
Y'all
And
had Mystery
one other thing, we made resources and activities and things for parents to use it at home. So it could be used by the classroom. They can decide to make it part of their day, but parents can do it with their children, and there's activities to do. There's online games with Mystery League. There's so much there. And with ADE, we sent books home with kids, showed them how to get to it as parents and stuff like that. So we really thought of it, holistically, like what all could it be for everybody here. And so, yeah, we're
I mean, are you talking about homeschooling?
Yeah, absolutely. They could use this at home. So if I'm a homeschool parent or just a parent, we could say, you know what, we're going to learn about social studies, kindergarten through second grade. We're going to watch this every week, or whatever. Watch 2 every week. We're going to do these activities connected, which are curriculum-based activities, and yeah, they learn something. Those are social studies education. So absolutely, and it's free. Of course, that's important. Those games are fun, but they're also educationally driven. The music has educational standards. Like every piece of it was very well thought out, and we covered a lot. So absolutely, it's
Series, though.
yeah. Okay.
So maybe a show,
yeah,
went-
we don't think so.
excuse me, a documentary might have gone national.
I do know this.
Maybe.
Not
We've
a-
never had a show on the national schedule, which is called the NPS. So that is something that all the stations carry the vast majority of. So that's something you don't have to get out and call the other stations and say, please, please air this, because it's on there. I know that in the past we've had, because there are other methods of distribution that are good, they're just not the NPS.
Right.
So we've had things distributed by NETA, National Educational Television Association, I think, prior to, and maybe American Public Television. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a first.
My encouragement to the team is don't be shy about that. I know you can be humble within your walls, but Arkansans love bragging rights, and we love to celebrate Arkansans, and this is a big deal nationally.
That's good.
And we need to know, folks, all kinds of people need to know this, so tout it.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the reasons for the success was our star that was in the production.
We did.
Well,
we did
there were
share.
a lot of people across Arkansas were stars. It's like you
Yeah.
tune in and you see
Well, and it's
your
a
neighbor.
Can I just say, just being in the film production industry for 32 years now, it's a testament to our film industry professionals here in this state. I think people overlook us, and that we're maybe not like the Atlanta industry and so on, and we are, and we give the best quality here, and it brings revenue into those professionals so they don't have to move somewhere else to stay in their field of work. And I just hope this is one of those that, like, look, this is what we can film with our folks. I think 95% of the crew hired was from Arkansas. I mean, so this was truly made by Arkansans, and
But the
that makes me
directors,
happy.
the 2 directors,
Are
and
here
the
in this
writers
building.
are our in-house
And
directors.
educators.
And educators. So
Yeah,
it's amazing.
yeah. So,
It's an amazing thing. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I think you stole all of her thunder, so now she's not going to have anything to say in her.
Oh, she does. She has.
Yeah.
She
She
has
stole
stuff.
all your thunder, so you're not going to have to say anything in
I'll
your
cross
part.
that off my
Yeah.
education report.
She's got plenty to say, trust me. So
Jason, you're up.
All right. Thank you, Chairman.
Tell us we're in good shape.
Yes, sir. Actually, things are going exceptionally well. At this moment, we are well-funded and well within our budget heading through fiscal year end. We are forecasting to come in under budget, although it will be tight, but we are pretty well tracking exactly where we need to be. So at the moment, our funds are strong, our expenses are within budget. Things are going well. As you noted earlier, we did receive a mostly clean audit report this go-around recently. So it is a testament to the work that this finance team for this agency has done, as well as the leadership of this agency. I'm very thankful for all of your support. I'm very thankful to our finance team. They have put in a lot of hard work to get us here, and they will continue to work to keep us there. So we are healthy. There is additional information in your financial report. In the last commission hearing, Commissioner Harrington asked for a little more detail and a little more information. So you'll notice we have placed a pie chart as well as an additional more detailed breakdown of some of the expenditure items. We can continue to form that format that moving forward to the needs of this body. So I am open to any suggestions, any questions, anything that y'all may have noticed or that you have questions or that you would like to see moving forward. Other than that, yes, sir.
I'm saying that's excellent for us visual learners.
Me too.
Woody and I.
That's the only way I remember it, is if I could see
Yeah.
it like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Just say thank you for talking to me about it and doing this part. Can I say one thing about the audit? And it doesn't matter to most people, but we had a clean opinion. And so I think for people who are accountants, having a clean opinion is what you're looking for. Now,
Yes.
there was the one finding in the internal control area,
Yes.
but that's a whole different thing.
Yes.
We still have a clean opinion, and that's
Yes.
the best you can be.
The gold,
So,
platinum standard.
congratulations, because I know you work real hard with the auditors to explain things and to get to that point.
Thank you.
It's just a question on page 10. I didn't understand what an interconnection grant is. It says that you get it based on a formula, but it didn't really tell me what it was. It's under Community Service Grant Fund, number 323 on page 10. I just don't know what it
Interconnection?
is.
You're asking about interconnection?
Yeah.
I can explain that. Interconnection is what connects all the stations across the country to PBS for distribution purposes, and to other stations as well. So that's gone through various and sundry variations. It's gotten more sophisticated through the years. It's now called SIX, S-I-X-X, but it's essential and part of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting funding. It's in a separate bucket for interconnection, at the federal level.
Okay.
And so the funding we receive goes to support that functionality, whether we need equipment or other connectivity software, whatever is necessary to make that connection happen is what these grant funds are intended for.
Okay, and my second question was, and I may be misremembering, that we did invest quite a bit of money in transmitters and new equipment, and so it was a little bit sad. I think it's FEMA, we're applying to FEMA to, so, yeah.
Well, and we have a grant ask that's out there that, I'm
Right.
Laura just going to talk about it, are you or not?
I
Anyway,
wasn't going to, but I can.
Well, or I'll just say it was, they came back for more information.
Okay.
Which is always a good sign. So it's FEMA through Corporation for Public Broadcasting, so.
Well, we
you know.
had invested quite a bit, right, in upgrading transmitters?
Well,
and-
what we have is still what we have.
Okay.
What, are you talking about the funds being stopped, or?
No, maybe a couple years ago, we got reports about upgrading.
Oh, the tower expansion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was through the COVID, the funds, the CARES
Yeah.
Act funds that were then through the Arkansas CARES Act committee, and they determined that it was a really good idea and a really good use of COVID funds to expand. So we had 6 transmitters.
Right.
And we had a lot of patches in
Right,
the state that
right.
people either couldn't get a signal at all or got a patchy signal, or when it comes to the public safety early warnings, they weren't going to be reliably covered. So we expanded from 6 to 10 transmitters. So now we went from 76% coverage of the state, the population, to 96%.
So those were new, and now we're trying to fix up the old ones.
Correct.
Is that it? Got it.
It's a lot of people
Yes, that's it. Thanks.
just don't realize that Arkansas PBS is a key role in our emergency warning system and the safety of the people of our state. And I don't know if I knew that before I became a commissioner, but it's very, very.
And we just also got equipment through a pilot program for another path of redundancy. So another insurance policy that if whatever things fail, this rises up as a backup. And it adds functionality that's just, amazing, that will come with ATSC 3.0, which is a future thing that hopefully broadcast standard that probably the FCC will mandate as essential at some point. But this, in the meantime, will send geo-targeted warnings. So we're in the midst of that piece of something that was actually just kind of donated to us if we would test it out, and it's great.
Good. Lindsay,
All right.
you're up.
Brian will get me up on the screen.
What reports we need to approve, just there.
There we go. So as a leadership team and as a marketing team, we look at this data on a monthly basis. So you're seeing the results of the February report. Wish this meeting was at the beginning of February. You would see our phenomenal numbers for December and January. So some of these numbers are down. Again, I don't have any concerns with this. As you can see, these trend lines, these are historical trends that we followed. December with football and January with new national premieres. Those are always big months for us. What I was most excited, especially in the PBS streams, because we've been doing a lot to drive people to stream, is how much higher that yellow band, that yellow line that you see is fiscal 25, orange is fiscal 24, and blue is fiscal 23. So in almost every single category or platform that we track, everything has gone up year over year, but I'm really happy to see those PBS streams really take that monumental jump from year over fiscal year. So even though from January to February we take a dip, there's a lot of premieres that come out in January, and then there's not as many in February, so the streams go down a bit. Again, that doesn't cause me concern. We will spike right back up for basketball if trends hold and basketball happens next weekend. Same thing for the website, so we get a lot, especially with, you see that spike over December. That year over year is when we air football. So the football state championships get a lot of people who stream that, especially through our website. We make our live stream from our linear broadcast available for free on our website as well. And we have a lot of people who choose to view it that way. Some people who, especially football, because it's really cold, who view it from their car. Me being one of those in between shooting things. So I pop out in my car and watch it on my phone. Every other platform except for X, formerly known as Twitter, and you'll see that on the next slide, it took another little small dip, and we may continue to see that as a trend, but we're going to hang in there until it looks like that platform no longer is serving the network. But YouTube had a 1% from January up to February, but as you can see, that trend line sits about 8,000 subscribers over where we were last year. Email's been our most volatile because of some platform and analytics issues that we had. We successfully migrated to our new platform. We had been talking about that in several meetings. Successfully did that in December, so we've been watching that December and January. We're happy to see that is consistently climbing back up, and we know and feel confident that those numbers are accurate now, so we don't have as much yo-yoing back and forth with our email platform. So we're sitting that end of the yellow, we're sitting at about 83,000 subscribers, which again is pretty phenomenal to have that many people who consistently and very engaged. We have many months about a 16% click-through rate of people getting in and reading those emails. So, and typically in kind of the marketing industry, a 2%, 3% is a good read rate. So 16% is phenomenal. We have a really loyal email audience, so we're happy about that. Instagram and Facebook, same thing. We had a 1% climb from January into February. We'll see that spike again next weekend with basketball, because we bring in a lot of people who haven't heard about us, but they see us filming or they see our marketing at these sports championships, and so they end up following and becoming a follower of everything else that we have to offer. So we'll see that climb up again next weekend. And then, like I mentioned, Twitter, I think it was, don't even remember the exact number, maybe 50 to 75 people that dropped off. So not a huge decline on X, but we'll keep watching that. As far as what people were watching in February, so pretty consistent the trend is most people are watching dramas. So we had 11 dramas that people were watching. All Creatures Great and Small is a #1 show for us. It premiered in January, so it was trailing off in February, but I believe, if memory serves correct, in January we had 33 to 34,000 streams of All Creatures Great and Small in the month of January. That's dipped to about 17,000 on the general audience. Another 9,000 that have watched it behind their passport login. So we track both of those numbers. Science, nature, history, and culture, those are always our next three genres that everyone's watching. So again, this helps inform where we take our content. So for instance, Unveiled, even though that, we didn't generate Unveiled, that was coming because of the statues, but that will fall in the history genre. And so that obviously is going to be a piece that we know our audience will enjoy because they enjoy our history content. And then Education and Children, Mystery League, Rise and Shine, and Quiz Bowl, almost always sitting in there because people are always tuned into that. Quiz Bowl will be celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, so that will be filming next month. We're excited to have that. And I'll take any questions or jump back to slides if I need to.
Lindsay, I had asked of me, and I didn't know the answer, but now I think you may be able to give it to me, so I'll know next time. Okay, when on our athletic presentations, we know how many people are streaming it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but broadcasting, we just don't know.
We don't. So there are some contractual issues with Nielsen's contract and the states, and I'm going to forget what it is. Veronica, help me if if you can remember. That is actually a free offering that PBS made available, and when we looked at the contract and started...
A piece of it, not the
a
whole.
piece of it. But when we got into the details of the contract, that was not a contract that a state agency could sign. So we are not able to take advantage of that free
That the state could
offering.
sign, you're saying?
Right, that a state agency could not sign that contract because of something that violates what our rules are. So we are not a partner in that, but that would be available to us.
Did we get that opinion from Aaron?
Aaron's down there saying, I don't have anything to do with that. It was before you.
I think that predated
Yeah,
Aaron.
it did
Predated
predate Aaron. We won't put Aaron on the spot. It did predate Aaron.
Well, because I'm assuming it's going to cost us some
It
extra money.
doesn't. Well, it doesn't for that. So what PBS and Corporation for Public Broadcasting were able to offer is sort of a Cliff's Note version. So you would have to pay for it and become a Nielsen subscriber yourself to get your actual details of show by show, but they would give you a composite. So
And how much would that be?
free.
Oh, free, okay.
Free
Because they
for the
made a deal
composite.
prior
Yeah,
to
because
that.
CPB made a deal.
So National PBS pays for it,
Yeah, they
But-
made the deal with CPB.
but we
and
can't
CPB.
agree to the contract.
Right.
So prior
You know
to
what?
that offer,
Why don't we run it by this guy again? Because I know people want to know, and it'd be good in our marketing too, to know how many people are,
yeah, well,
There's
Yeah.
a lot of people
Yeah.
that watch it over there.
Yeah,
yeah.
we will.
I mean, a lot of people stream it, but I guess a lot more people watch it on broadcast.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So we have received anecdotal data from some of our partners who have access to see what our Nielsen numbers are. And consistently for the past 2 years, they have said, you're about 60%. About 60% of your population is watching your broadcast.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Wait,
But,
60%?
but again, that's
that's
anecdotal. We don't have
2
We
million?
don't have any.
That means 60%, like once a month.
I
mean,
don't know
it-
that
it-
detail.
Okay,
I don't know
just
that
wanted to be
detail.
clear that,
Yeah, I'm talking about of the
well, it's
athletic
not every night of the
shows.
week.
right.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
Somebody, I've wondered if our cable providers in Arkansas might be able to share data on their different platforms of just macro
Possibly.
data of how many people are tuning in, or how many households or subscribers are tuning in to those. May
Yeah, possibly,
be worth
yeah.
an ask of
Yeah.
the majors, and then we could extrapolate some of that information.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
That sounds good. Do you mind getting Aaron whatever that contract
Cindy,
is?
Cindy has a question.
Is there any way to tell the difference between how many viewers it's a related question, mobile, or they're using a passport on their smart TV, or
We
do we know that?
Majority of them, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I can see the pie chart that I don't usually put in here, or the bar graph. if memory serves, I believe it's actually coming through the PBS.org website is where they're streaming, which again, you can go to PBS.org, you can type in any show that you want to watch, you can stream it there, it'll have all the episodes. And then the next behind that is over-the-top devices. So if you're a Roku and you've downloaded PBS app, or Apple TV and you've downloaded PBS app, and then the last one is mobile. So not as many people watching on mobile. Any other questions? Yeah.
Would you mind going back to the
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
metrics for the two socials?
Oh, yep, which one? This one is YouTube and email, this one's Instagram and Facebook, is that?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Sonia, you're up again.
Okay, so I'm going to update you on all the educational stuff we did. I did want to start just briefly mentioning a project that we actually did in 2021. And to just give it personal, because I like to be personal, but my master's degree was on research on the most effective ways to offer opioid education in a rural state, because we were in the middle of that crisis, and we still are. And so when I got here and ADE says we want to do something for children on the crisis and education to prevent them from getting into these situations with opioids, we did a documentary in 21. And it's been very successful. I think it has 1.7 million views since then. But I got a call from the U.S. State Department a couple weeks ago, and the U.S. mission in Vienna, Austria, wanted it to screen at their event in Austria. And I'm like, of course. And so it screened on the 3rd, so it's today the 6th. On the 3rd, there, they said it was very successful, so much so that the Commission on Narcotic Drugs, the UN Commission on Narcotics Drugs, is showing it later this month.
Congratulations.
So we are so proud that we are helping with something that we're still dealing with in a real way with fentanyl and things like that. So that's that little bit of news on that. I will move on to Ideas. So as you guys know, Ideas is a online free professional development portal for licensed teacher and school support staff. And since I saw you last, 118,000 courses were completed and 167,000 credit hours were earned. And we have currently 96,600 users of Arkansas Ideas. So, as I've mentioned before, majority of our courses are these mandated laws that they're mandated to take. They cannot work in the school because most of them are about school safety, how you take care of people's children while they're in your care. So what we're doing right now is we just finished filming 2 courses on human trafficking with the Arkansas State Police, and then a 2-hour course on bullying. So they're on rotations. So obviously things change, right? So these rotations, every 4 years, we have to have a new one. Make sure we get whatever laws are applicable in there and they have to take it every few years. We are in production of child maltreatment. That will come out in June. We just did an Arkansas online teaching assessment, and there was a new law in this session that went through for even volunteer coaches for sports and things like that, that they need to take training on sudden cardiac arrest, right? Because sudden cardiac arrest could look like something else, like a seizure or something else. I'm very proud to say that training is given by us, that training that anyone can take online for free. And so it's just going to expand how many people will be taking that course. And the last one I'll just spotlight is we're working with the University of Arkansas's Criminal Justice Institute for a course on safety for school leaders. And this is to prevent and respond to violence and emergencies, and, you know, de-escalating situations. So we're working on that as well. And then, of course, we have our community, parent, children offerings, Ready to Learn. We had some great events that just happened, Read to Succeed. We're working with Early Ed Leads, which was something that was put in with the LEARNS Act. We're working with them to figure out those ways to expand it, and ADE. Like we realize how important this is, and we're all working together to how do we get events like this out to more people, and that it's not necessarily has to always be our group that goes, because the more people that can go, the better, and we can do more programming. And then, of course, high school sports, of course, is K-12, right? Those are the students in K-12. So sports is coming up, and so is Quiz Bowl. And I'll spotlight that when we get into the video showcase. So I think that is all I have. So,
Thank you, very good report.
Very good.
And I'm gonna put you on the spot. I have no idea if you've even thought about it. I mean, I know you've thought about it, but in my very good discussions with Senator Sullivan, of course, what's near and dear to his heart is homeschooling and what's going on. And I agree with him. We have not served the homeschooling community as we should. He's had a conversation as of this morning with the director of the Department of Education.
Okay.
And they don't think they can get it in this session, but we're going to make a major move to serve the homeschooling community. And Senator Sullivan has offered to do whatever he can to get funding for it if we need funding. So
Great.
I want you to know the pipeline, and have you thought about this area yet, and how we would serve the homeschool community better? And is there anything you'd want to share with us about that?
Yeah, we think about it a lot, and we do have some offerings like Rise and Shine with activities and Mystery League, and like sudden cardiac arrest. It is open to the public, so we can watch that as well. It's not locked under anything. Mental health, it's student focused, so students, sometimes they're uncomfortable talking about those things, so we have an offering out there. But yes, what I'd like to essentially propose is we'd love to be able to research it. Like, since there aren't, what is it that, what are the gaps that they don't have enough resources? What are those age groups? What are those subjects? And have a little bit of a time to kind of research what would be the best thing for us to create, or what could we say this is really good and have an easy way to get to it. Does that make sense? Like understanding how we can provide the best offering to them that they need, and not necessarily that we're assuming without knowing which things lack really good content. And what's out there that, maybe there's a lot of math stuff out there, but they really are wanting more science-based stuff. To have that little bit of, we'd love it. We love anything with kids' content to do.
So a development project first.
A study of,
Right.
so we understand it in a real way. And if it, like you said, if you're saying the bill is there, we have some time to work with. I would love to just research base, hear from homeschool parents, what is it?
Put together a little task force maybe with a couple people from the Department of Education.
Study or research on what is really understanding it. So we don't just go, oh, we're going to create this, and this was the one thing they had enough of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because there's K through 12, there's a lot of subjects.
Yes, I'll make a comment here.
Yeah.
So when I was appointed to be a commissioner by Governor Sanders, she has a huge agenda, huge with education. The Learns, her first session, this session, Access, which is a collaboration with higher education, our say 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, collaborating with our colleges to get credits in order to just help our students be productive citizens, to find a goal. Well, her goal through any of our agencies is for us to come on board with, her agenda. So I would say we become very familiar with LEARNS and very familiar with Access, and first of all, we read it. So many people assume what she's talking about from some of the discussions and committee meetings and testimony and all of that. But, for each of us as Arkansas Education Television Network, and I just emphasize education because that is her meaning behind the funds from our taxpayers is to educate. And I think that we sometimes say, we can't give outcomes because of how this program is set up. But I'm telling you, her agenda is outcomes. Third graders reading on a proficient level. And once you read, it is the core. Our educator, I know, will say that. It is the core that springboards our kids into everything else. Why do we not have all of our high schoolers taking, chemistry or calculus or, trig or the sciences, physics? Why? Because they're struggling reading, understanding, thinking, reasoning. That's what's happening to us. Our governor recognizes it. I certainly recognize it. She has it on her agenda, and I think that should be our focus. I cannot praise you enough for all of the Emmys that we receive. I don't know who the contact was nationally that got us recognized, but we had to have a contact to get them to see our content, correct? Mm-hmm. And once they did, voila, we're on a national level. I am impressed. It is impressive. But when we are on the low end, statistically, educationally, and our third graders can't read, oh my goodness. Our answer is, let's emphasize what we're doing and the outcomes that show our kids are getting it from our teachers, from ideas, whatever we do in ideas. And I can tell you right now, I'm very close to homeschoolers. They have a great program going on in Network in Jonesboro, Arkansas. What they want to plug into is there anything we're missing? Mm-hmm. Because, I want to use it if we're missing it. That's where they're coming from. But I am concerned about our public education. Very, very concerned. I think we need to be concerned in every dollar that we get federally and from our state and our foundation. Our focus has got to be on how can we help our teachers teach our kids how to read. That's the open door.
So,
that's my comment.
And of course, that's what we want to do. I mean, if we can make more and more content that helps kids, we're on board. We want to do that. It's exciting to even think about, to get into more arenas than, we love.
But Sanji, I can't figure out where we are, what we're doing, what the teachers are saying about what we're doing, what the public is saying about what we're teaching. I don't see any deliverables or outcomes.
I can speak to some of the things. So even before I was a commissioner, when I reached out to PBS, I was in the role of just a resource for school, but also part of an organization that works statewide at getting resources to teachers and kids. And when I reached out to PBS, an unknown, just a teacher, the door was open and we had conversations and they pointed me to resources they had. I also want to mention this. So I'm familiar with LEARNS. I work in early childhood now, but I've worked from early childhood to adult ed in my career, spent the bulk of it in K-12. And as the position I'm in right now, early local leads, exists because of LEARNS. Recognizing that birth to 5 should be under the department because it's foundational just makes sense. So I see that important work. It is such a struggle sometimes, even with the best resources, to connect them to the people who are in most need. My job, my specific job, is to reach anybody in the space of birth to 5. And when I knock on doors of in-home and faith-based sometimes, and when I reach out, there's reluctance. And I honor the work that's being done, but it takes even a little bit to get past that. And I lead with, I really am a resource. I'm a resource because of LEARNS to every child birth to 5. And it takes a little bit to get that relationship going, but I absolutely use resources that I get from here. Read to Succeed, just like she was talking about, and the focus that you're talking about is being spread across the state with a partnership in the efforts of LEARNS and PBS. Like, that's what you're talking about. It's happening. It takes a little bit sometimes, but it is happening. It's happening.
What I could do, Maria, too, is from this conversation, we can look at how much awareness we have out there and how we get the message out of what we currently have and what we plan to do to add on to it for homeschool. So maybe there is some things where we're not maybe doing the job of getting that awareness of our current resources, because there's a lot of them, and then we build on those with new ones for homeschool. And that may help with, because we do have some, but we'll make more and things like that. So we do have an offering for parents and homeschool now, but we can grow it. Absolutely. I mean, we would love to do that.
Now, I understand there's some, I guess, technical hurdles for the homeschool mothers or teachers or to use some of the teaching resources. Am I right or wrong about that?
So for the ones that are law-based, so let's say child maltreatment, those laws and rules that are put on to teachers in a classroom are not applicable to a parent. So we would be teaching them a law that does not apply to them. So we're essentially giving them wrong information.
Okay.
So those courses aren't offered to them because we don't want to tell them bad information. It just doesn't apply to them. It's only
And
when you're in
something
a.
you said earlier really struck me, where you said it really ideas, addresses, when parents send their children to school and put them in the care of those institutions and those people.
Right.
These are things that they need to know.
Right.
To be able to
There's
be,
Arkansas code that says if you're going to teach people in a classroom, there are school safety things that you have to adhere to. There are laws and rules per ADE. Those laws and rules that we teach in those specific courses do not apply to a homeschool parent. They don't have to adhere to those laws. So if they took the course, they may be getting information that they actually doesn't apply to them. And those are the only ones that are given to the ones that it does. Does that help?
Well, is there some kind of certification or something like that?
Yeah, there's a license. You have to have PD to be a licensed teacher. And
For homeschoolers too, right?
no.
No, okay.
Yeah. So this is all about licensure board. You have to have
I just heard
36
in
hours.
some of my discussion, there's some
Yeah. So there's
some roadblocks that we might need to.
right. So so it applies to there. So I think it's 36 hours now you need to keep your license every year. Eight of those 36 are mandated, and we give that training. But it is to maintain your license. Or it could be because you're a school employee. So you're an employee of brick and mortar, like you're an employee of theirs, and you're like a bus driver, and you have kids in your care. So there's some training because you're a school staff person. So those trainings you could take, but I think probably why they're not offered is because it would be saying you need to adhere to a law that doesn't apply to you. I don't know if, Aaron, you can, it's really giving information
Yeah, we're
that
gonna give him
doesn't
a lot
apply.
too. He's gonna be sorry.
I like Aaron being here.
I also think of it like that kind of PD, and I've been teaching and a teacher for almost 30 years, that kind of PD that we're required to do, it kind of brushes up the skill set that we already know, but that was never where I got how I teach from.
Correct.
That is not what Ideas really is.
Right.
In that capacity that she's talking about. So there's so many resources that are available that are real. How do you teach, or how do you be more engaging? How can you teach phonetics, those kind of things? That's accessible, but this is a different kind of learning, I would say.
Right. We don't teach how to teach math or science or social studies. These are, you have to take this course and know that you are a mandated reporter for child abuse. And you need to know what that law is and how to adhere to it when you're a teacher and you have a license. And so that may not apply in a home setting, right? Those laws as a mandated reporter don't apply in those. And so maybe that's likely why it's not offered to them, because I would think ADE wouldn't want to tell them they have to do something that they don't.
Do you ever think about what will turn the ship around, though?
I
I mean, we have wonderful resources. The ship isn't turning. And we're so creative. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming to me.
I hear you, and we will do anything we are asked to do. You know,
Yeah.
we have done everything the Department of Education has ever asked of us. So whether it's ideas, which is pretty clearly defined, or whether it's things that fall outside of ideas, like Mystery League, for example. That's something we had never done, really. I mean, Rise and Shine,
Right.
you know, direct student-led content. And so we look to the Department of Education because they tell us what the priorities are and ask us to do specific things. So we'll do anything that they ask us to do. So that's the point. It's not something that we generate on our own. It comes from somewhere to us.
But I want to say, in that analogy of turning the ship around, Arkansas PBS is one oar. We've got in a large ship, so I can see so many efforts like in our what we have control over, but we're one part of this massive ship, and I commend the work. I see it firsthand that's happening in what we can control, but we're just that piece of it, and I think the focus here is certainly on how we can be the most impactful in our role, but we're just that piece.
Well, I say our little piece needs to be totally focused on, on our big part of it needs to be on reading. This is what I'm trying to say, and I'm not just talking about, I dare say in my network in Jonesboro, all of the third graders in homeschool that are in our homeschool network are reading on their level. I don't have the stats, but I do know that many of the parents and basically I would say that they're reading. Public school, no.
So we've been thinking,
and it's dire. Let's put it that way. We need to focus more on what kind of resource, what kind of programs, and I think the Department of Education will definitely get behind us. You know, perhaps we need to be calling our senators and our representatives and saying to them, give us more leeway to focus on reading to help our K through 2, is it? K2,
I think
to
if you
develop
start in
these
K,
programs.
You're too late. If you started K, you're too late. In the early childhood world, it is high priority. So K is even that sounds like K's a little too late to start even.
Well, this is just my comment.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to be doing more of this type of content. We would love it. And so, Ideas is a grant that we give in with very specific rules of or goals that they need us to cover, and we do that with that grant. But like Gary, we've been looking and thinking about your question, or about doing like a reading show and stuff, and we have a show, Blueberry, which is actually pre-K through second grade, that maybe we can rethink, but this time the focus would be on like reading, right? And we already have the sets because the expense and stuff like that. So we are totally already thinking about the literacy type content that we can bring back, and stuff like that. Since Rise and Shine had lots of literacy stuff, but those were grants that were one-time grants. So we are going back and looking at literacy. PBS National, of course, all those programs that come down on PBS Kids, many of them are literacy focused, and they're
But we've never
pre-K.
had the ability to measure, what it's doing, have we?
I don't think there's not a way to measure something on broadcast, because that means we would be having to poll parents who are watching it with their children. I don't know if there's a mechanism to do it in the classroom. They test them, right? Or they can do something. We don't have a way to call a parent and say, did you watch this, and can we measure that there was a gain in knowledge? If there was, that'd be great, but that's beyond, there's not, that would be kind of another phase of how would we get those? Because right now the only place they're tested is in the classroom or through whatever other testing they have, not through, do you see what I mean? Like, if they're watching it at home, I don't know how to measure if they gain knowledge unless I got feedback from the parent that it worked. So that, I don't know how to give that kind of outcome numbers.
Maybe we could suggest this to our marketing director.
Do you want
Oh, I'm being thrown in now. I mean, it would require a research study, and I agree with it. Probably would end up being focus group, so it would be a snapshot. It'd be a picture of what potentially could be learned. Maria, I think what I'm hearing you say is you're really looking at the overall state outcome of moving that needle, and like Ann said, we are one or, so I don't even know that our piece of measuring would really be the full outcome if, I don't know, the numbers between homeschool third graders and in-school third graders, and what number are we trying to move, or what goal are we trying to, or what goal are we trying to reach. But I think we have a, like Ann said, we have a small role to play in that. We're happy to play whatever role we're asked to play. I don't know that our funding comes to us to take on responsibilities that the Department of Education already does. So that's why we take our lead from the Department of Education.
My question earlier was, do we have resources though that we can open up? Well, I know that we have resources. I think some of those would be beneficial to people that are outside of the teaching licensure area.
Agree.
If I am a parent who decided to homeschool. I also wanted to ask, because since you brought up reading, I have a daughter who teaches social studies, and she was teaching in an alternative setting before. She's not currently. And she said so many of my high school students they're reading so many grades below grade level. And she said, as a social studies teacher, I'm not trained to teach kids how to read, but it's the one thing they need for success in my class, because they can't read their assignments, they can't read, they're not reading. And she said, it's one thing, it's not just going to help them in my class, it's going to help them in life. Do we have, or why couldn't we create supplemental resources for, again, it doesn't have to be for college credit, just tell me how, she was a secondary social studies major, so She never learned those. And we've got teachers that are really being put in these almost untenable situations in public school where, for whatever reason, and I applaud the governor to try to get every kid up to standard by third grade, but some of them are going to be in the gap of kids that have passed that, and now they're being set up for a lifetime of failure. So if there's a place that we could come in and just say, teachers, here's a supplemental area that you could, just some techniques or activities for teachers that aren't reading professionals. I don't know, just a thought, but I just see it
And
as
so,
something
I
that
think-
they're not going to be
Sure.
trained in and not know how to
I think-
capture those students.
From what Maria said and you're saying, I think I can see clearly there's some awareness that we need to get out there, because we have probably hundreds of things like you're mentioning, but maybe they don't understand what links to go to on our website. So we have it in math, literacy. All of Rise and Shine was content that non-licensed teachers can use. It could be parents too. They can use it. There's activities, there's videos.
Would it be
and things.
appropriate for, though, a high school teaching environment?
Yeah, so since I've been here, we've covered a lot of hours in K through fifth grade, pre-K through fifth grade. We could do that, of course, and we have the training and skill sets and creative, skills to do that. We have not gone into that high school arena, but this is like what we're talking about. We could do it. We just haven't yet, and we can, and we love it. I mean, that's what we love doing, is creating that content for people to use. So we're on board. We just haven't done necessarily high school ones so far.
It is a struggle for
Sure.
people that I've heard talk about, even giving them students at that age level things to read that they're able to read. And it could be the same could be true for an English as a second language learner. You don't want to give them you want to give them age appropriate materials
Right.
for,
Absolutely. Yeah.
not so they know they're not being talked down to. But anyway, I do see it as an area of need. I don't know that's ever been part of our mission, but if it's something that we were able to take on, I think it would be great.
Love it.
Again, as far as resources that are out there and that are available to teachers and that are free, as a teacher, sometimes it's not that there's not resources, it's that me as a resource, I'm spent. My capacity is reached between teaching and grading and how I need to contact parents. It may not be the need that resource area may be saturated. Just teachers may be at capacity.
Well, I'm quite sure that's the case.
Oh my goodness.
But some of them are saying,
Sure.
I would do it if I
Sure.
could help.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
maybe that's the thing for for schools to take on is
So hard.
in professional development.
Yeah, and one thing I do know that we're doing for licensed teachers, but non-licensed, and also teacher prep in higher ed, is we're producing a new 2-hour Arkansas history course. So teachers have to take it in college if they're an early ed, degree to get that degree, and I think so. But like that is also going to be for a social studies teacher to use in their classroom. I know they use Ken Burns documentaries a lot,
Oh.
and there's like resources. So I think I have 2 things to do. Yes, we can make new content, love it, can't wait. And 2, really get this awareness piece out there of what we have now. I think maybe we haven't done a good job of getting, spotlighting that a little bit more.
And maybe some of this is on schools to advertise us as a resource for them and their teachers.
Yeah, I will.
And
I'll,
Mr. Chair, I thought I heard you say that as we work through this, there may be resources available to develop some of these newer items for learning.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Maria, I was going to add, I don't know if she had anything to do with it, but we do have somebody on the national level. She's vice chairman of the National PBS board. And did you?
Director Pledger, are you pointing to her?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
Yes.
Well, how did you get that done, or did you even do anything?
You mean for Mystery League?
Mystery League.
Well, I mean, I started feeding information
Oh.
from day one. We're doing this series.
So we
I
did
mean, I
have
know
some like kind
the
of
head of PBS
undercover,
Kids
right?
is a close friend, and actually her husband went to Central here, so we have that kind of Arkansas connection. But we've been talking about this from the first day that we knew we were doing it, and we're doing this series, and I tell her a little bit more. And in the beginning, it was a little, because I'm sure they have GMs all across the country saying, well, I have this little kids series we're doing, we want you to look at it, kind of a thing. So I sensed a little bit of a, great, can't wait to see it,
Leave me alone for it.
kept feeding it, and then got to the point where it was actually seeable, and their minds were blown. So they were just instantly saying,
Wouldn't
gosh,
it be
how did you do? They
amazing?
said, who produced this for you? Because a lot of the other, like GBH, they don't produce their kid shows. They have outside production companies that
Probably costs a fortune, I
do
imagine.
all of those, and a lot of them take the animation to Canada because that makes it more affordable. But
It would be amazing because of the in-house creativity, if we could develop our own training, like say of phonics. That's the easiest way to teach, I think, personally, reading.
Agree.
If we did that in a Mystery League manner,
Right.
That's heaven.
our
Like, we love that. Like,
I mean,
that's
Speaking her language, I
and it's,
think.
and it's better. You can probably explain this better than I can. I mean, Ideas is very successful because it's this amazing partnership between the Department of Education and us. They have their role, we have ours, and I forgot where I was going with that. I had a point.
Well, that's good. I think that was a point.
Was that a point? Okay, good. I'm
yeah.
done.
But we do. I think we have a real place of
Well, it's
providing.
important to have that partnership, because if we're doing the things that we do outside that partnership, get some traction. Like Blueberry's Clubhouse did get some traction, but it didn't have the cooperative nature between, because that was something we did because we had producers in here who were just dying to be let loose, to be more creative. So it was like, let's do
Right.
this, let's let them do this. But when you do a Mystery League and you do Rise and Shine, and the education department is also in that partnership, the schools are more aware, they get flyers in their backpacks, all kinds of things that we don't have on our own the capability to do. So that partnership, the things that come out of that tend to be more focused and reach more students and more teachers. Does that make sense?
And what we do, I think why we do it well and we can do this new initiative well is because my team is education and production. We're a cross-sectional team. So I have licensed educators, Arkansas licensed educators on staff, and I have production people. And they work together on equal level ground to get the best thing. So that's why we cover both curriculums so well and make it engaging and not something where kids are like, I'm gonna go back to Nickelodeon or whatever else that may not be educational. So yeah, I mean, we really keep in mind that this will absolutely be educational. That's what our network is. It doesn't have a place if it's not educational, if it's for kids. And it has to be fun.
We can make a phonics series like Blueberry's.
That's what I was saying
like
on
Blueberry's
Gary's.
Clubhouse.
So that was the
On our own, we can say,
right.
let's find the funding to
Right.
do this phonics show, and we
Right.
do it on our own without that partnership, and we can do that.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
we have
Blueberry's Clubhouse
internal-
was on our own.
But anytime you have a partnership, which is why we've built so many community partnerships out there, because when you put 2 people lifting or 3 people lifting, it's a lot more successful. And so we can do that, and we can push it out there to the best degree that we can do, as one. But if we can do it in partnership, so that part is not really down to us. Does that make sense?
Okay. This has been an incredible discussion.
It has. It's been a great discussion.
It has, but we're going to have to move on if we're going to get lunch in. So, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the reports as presented. You might not agree with everything, but I'll entertain a motion and I'll need a second. So moved. Is there a second? Second, by Gloria. Marie. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All against say nay. And it passes. Okay, Marge, this has become one of my favorite times. And so it's your turn.
All right, thank you. Thank you, and thank you, commissioners, for being here today. We appreciate your presence and dedication here. I will be brief. In the interest of time, I want to hit on three topics briefly. The first, I want to backtrack a little bit to the conversation about the grant, just to give you a little bit more detail on that. So, as Courtney mentioned, with that CARES Act money, we were able to move from 6 towers to 10, but those 6 remaining have technical needs. And the current application that we have out right now is for a little over $920,000 if it were to be awarded, and that would provide new transmitters for the towers for KAFT, KTEJ, and KETS. So 3 of those 6, the original ones. Those transmitters are anywhere between 14 and 30 years old, and if you can't even get the parts, in some cases the companies that created them, that made them, no longer exist. And if you think to your own technology, how many of you have laptop computers or tablets or things like that that are more than 14, let alone 30 years old? So obviously in need of replacement there. So as Courtney mentioned, we were recently asked to provide more information for that, which we always take as nothing's ever a guarantee until you get the check in the mail, but we take that as a cause for cautious optimism. And this is one of those scenarios where the foundation takes, a large role in the preparation of that application, but the funding would go directly to the network if approved. So fingers crossed, and we will keep you posted on that. Second, briefly, I want to let you know that we did the first 2 of our new Lunch and Learns. This is something new that we tried this year, Lunch and Learns on estate planning basics. We did one at the Fayetteville Public Library and one at the Community Center in Hot Springs Village. And we had about 40 people at each of those, which we actually, for a first time out, thought this was a good turnout. I will say the engagement was really strong at them. Our presenters who are, they volunteered their time, they are attorneys with expertise in estate planning. They prepared a presentation that it was perhaps a half hour long in each case, and those participants kept them answering questions for at least another half hour after that, which was great to see. And it was also great to see that it was not all people of a certain age. We saw younger generations in there, including one family who had their infant in tow with them. So that was terrific. And we got a lot of good feedback on just thanks for providing that kind of education and information, which is also a part of the Arkansas PBS mission. So we have some more that we have in the planning pipeline right now, and we'll keep you apprised of those so you can share out that information with your contacts as well. But we think this is a really worthwhile thing for us to be doing. So, and then the third piece is that we are 6 days into our March pledge campaign, and this is just an opportunity for me to give you a couple little tidbits of data, because you know I'm a data nerd on this. So the on-air fundraising comprises about 12% of our annual membership revenue. Anything where you can get more than 10% from a single source is pretty significant, which is one of the reasons we put so much effort into that. And we talk a lot about membership revenue because in any given year, that comprises 75 to 80% of our contributed revenue at the foundation. So that's where a lot of our just day-to-day focus goes to. One of the things that we're really happy about with the March pledge that we have lined up right now, we will typically have 4 to 5 live nights where we are actually in the studio with volunteers answering the telephones for us. And this time out we have 9. So huge thanks to the production and operations teams at the network for helping us with that, for that support. One of the reasons those live nights are so important is that in any given year, I'm going to cite FY24 specifically, in pledge, about a third of the minutes that we spend in pledge breaks actually asking for donations, about a third of those are local, either live or pre-recorded, but it's us, our colleagues in the studio asking for contributions. So that represents a third of the time, but it represents almost half of the revenue that we bring in. So statistically, we know how important it is that we are actually there face-to-face, in a manner of speaking, with our audience and able to communicate with them. One of the things we love doing is also having special guests in there with us. So I want to tee up 2 that will be happening during this particular pledge drive on March 12th, next Wednesday. They can't be here in person, but we have Skype interviews with Adam Riley and Maddie Clark, who are the 2 adventurers in Passage. And we get a chance to talk to them about what they've been doing since their return from their travels and a little bit more about their experiences. And then on March 20th, during that premiere broadcast of Unveiled, we will also have Kevin Cressy in the studio with us, who is the artist who created the Johnny Cash statue. We are currently talking to have someone also who can speak to more about the Daisy Bates piece of the story. I just don't have a confirmation yet on who that guest is. But again, it's just a little extra special thing that we try to bring to the audience. And as we think about pledge, one of the reasons that we also think that it is still so important, not just for the percentage of revenue that it generates, but it is an incredible opportunity and forum for us to be able to communicate directly with our audience. There are very few nonprofits that have the opportunity to communicate with their stakeholder base in this way, and we take that very seriously. So we look at it in a much more holistic way beyond just the fundraising aspect of it. So I hope you will tune in for lots of it, but especially on March 12th and March 20th, because I think they're just going to be really fascinating nights of television. So
Just a note, Adam and Maddie are going to try to do it again this summer.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to.
They're going to be
spoiler
back at
alert!
it.
I think you just stole some of that thunder, West, for
Yeah,
March 12th, but that's okay.
I mean, they're going to try to paddle 2,000 miles. Now, I mean, something I realized, Adam's shoulder went out last time about 500 miles.
Yeah.
Maddie, that fella, kept paddling by himself another 1,000 miles until all his sump pumps went out, his solar panels, he couldn't film, he couldn't do sinking in the Arctic Ocean. and he gave up. But they might just make it.
I think they're
I
gonna make
might.
it. I think they're all the
Wouldn't that
things
be a
they learn,
great part
lighter
two?
boats,
Yeah.
lighter weight boats. They're even gonna take lighter weight cameras.
Oh, okay.
They're, all those things that weighed them.
Yeah, weigh them down.
Yeah.
And look,
You have
Literally.
to roll 2,000 miles. You got
and look for an exciting announcement sometime soon about exposure for that to some national audiences. So.
Oh, okay. Jim shared that with me.
I have a question about the live events. So I have to confess, I don't really watch those because I'm a monthly sustainer or whatever. But is there a way to address some of the concerns we spent some time talking about in terms of elevating some of the educational material during that? I mean, I know people talk and they say, PBS, we do this and we do that, but in a creative way, maybe engaging more with the audience to elevate the kinds of programs that are done. That was one question. And then, for nerds like me, I wonder if there isn't a way to feature not just the folks who are sort of visible, but the folks who are invisible. So, like, I would actually tune in to watch you walk behind and say, look, this is a control set and it does this and blah, blah, blah. And I wonder if there's a way to kind of give a shout out to the folks behind the scenes as well. I mean, no, they're trying to do it.
Right.
But I think that would be kind of interesting too.
Right. I'm going to go in reverse order on the second one. We don't necessarily turn the camera around, but we do always acknowledge who's in the studio with us and what it takes to do that. But I love the idea, and I've seen, I don't remember which PBS station it was, but I remember seeing that they had literally just kind of a virtual tour of their building, a walkthrough. So I love anything where we can show off
That would be
what
great.
our colleagues on the network side are doing. That's, it's fun for us, and it's I think important for our audience to know. In terms of what that content is during Pledge, it is still the network that makes those decisions about what the content is. We will offer our insights and advice about, yes, we think the audience will love this, or maybe not this piece as much, based purely from a fundraising standpoint and what we've seen in the past. But ultimately, all of those content decisions really rest with the network. But we're open to, to bringing whatever we can to it, because we do recognize, not just from a fundraising perspective, but from an educational perspective, what the power is of having that opportunity to talk directly to our audience.
Well, I guess I'm going back to maybe a year or two ago, a discussion we had when we got the metrics about who our audience is, and I was thinking about ways to kind of shift that a little bit. But I know we're heavily weighted to a certain demographic age-wise, and that's why I was asking those kinds of questions, like things that might, and then I know that on YouTube, for example, we had a lot of younger male, and just what might interest them. So that's where that came from.
Yeah, I think all of those are great questions, and certainly conversations that we have internally about who the audience is that we're trying to connect with.
Good. Okay, next, Jason, I guess if you could, we have to pass some kind of motion to make sure we're in compliance with some kind of law, which I'm sure Aaron would be really excited, would like for us to vote on this.
It's expense reimbursement.
Since obviously we've been out of compliance for a while, but can you tell us what this is?
Yes, sir. Annually, Arkansas Code annotated, and the citation is 2560-902, requires the board as a body to make a motion for authorization for reimbursement for travel expenses associated with your official capacities as you are here functioning as commissioner. So I would ask that a member of this body please make a motion to authorize expense reimbursement in compliance with ACA $2516,902. That way I can reimburse you for mileage, lodging, any expenses necessary for you to fulfill your official duties.
Gotcha. Are there any questions? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay. And it'll entertain a second. Second. All in favor say aye. And all against say nay. None. And that doesn't surprise me at all. My reimbursement.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I have additional other business items I would like to bring up.
Okay. Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Why don't we get yours before we get Aaron in? Go ahead. Gary.
Oh, before Mr. Lowry, certainly. This is on.
Oh, Aaron, you're gonna get lunch out of this too, so.
We've touched on many of these things throughout the meeting. I wanted to be appropriate in bringing them up with our other business section. I was concerned about the article I saw on March 1st in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, which described a letter that was requested from a law firm.
Exactly. I requested it. Go ahead.
Okay. And you requested that the executive director seek that letter. Is that accurate?
You bet.
Okay. I would like to remind the staff and this commission and the public watching that we are unable to discuss Arkansas PBS AETN business outside of this. So if some of these conversations feel uncomfortable, it's because this is the only opportunity we have to discuss these things. So I would like to raise concerns about that letter. As a commissioner, I was disappointed that I had to read about this letter in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I don't know if what is reported is accurate, but I would have liked, as a commissioner, the opportunity to know, first of all, know about the request, and secondly, be able to review the letter and to see what its purpose is. Secondly, there were things in the article, and again, it's all I have is the article, so I'm going to ask those questions.
We need to get you the letter if we haven't gotten that out.
And did any other commissioner receive the letter?
Yeah. We need to get that out.
Okay.
Hey, is it possible? Can we get a copy of that before they leave? Not somebody.
Yeah, that'd be great. She has to have.
In the article, it
I'm
says.
sorry. Go ahead. We'll make copies of it.
In the article, and which you were quoted, and our executive director was mentioned, it said that she requested the letter, but that was at your direction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. Something else that puzzled me in the letter was an opinion about SB 184. This commission has never considered SB 184. Therefore, I think it needs to be made very clear when members, the chair, executive director are speaking to media, that it be very clear that the commission has not taken a position on this issue. That is one's personal opinion. Because later in the article, and even in a subhead that was highlighted, it said the legislation is opposed by Arkansas PBS. I let Mr. Early, the author of this article, know that that is not accurate. I have not heard back from Mr. Early, but I want it on the record that this commission has not considered that legislation and has not taken a position on that legislation.
Okay.
In the letter, this is something that was shocking to me. Moreover, and I quote, the commissioners have delegated the exercise of program content control to the commission's executive director and chief executive officer. I would like to see the motion and the legal authority for that delegation of authority, because I've never had an orientation that described powers that I have or don't have as a commissioner. And one of the reasons I invited Mr. Lowry to come in is because the Attorney General's office is the Commission's counsel. And I needed guidance about how to simply proceed on some of these issues, particularly if answers to those questions were not what has been delivered today, if we need to go into executive session to describe or to contemplate a very narrow set of options when you go into executive session. So in that regard, I would like to ask Mr. Lowry if he could describe how this commission can choose to go into executive session to discuss what those narrow areas, if you feel comfortable with that.
Okay, well, let me address something. This commission was facing extinction. I think the Arkansas PBS was facing extinction as a result of that. We had a matter of 2 days to turn this thing around. We didn't have time to go to the Attorney General. We had to find somebody that had knowledge in FCC licensing and what was going on to tell us so that we could tell y'all what was happening. and so that's why we requested that opinion from a FCC law firm in Washington, D.C. And as you'll see when we hand it out, we were about to make a huge mistake in the state of Arkansas.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, that is your opinion.
That is my opinion.
I'm simply asking for the facts of the situation, and I would like to keep the discussion to the facts of the situation.
I'm telling you the facts right now, if you'll let me talk, okay?
I let you, sir,
Okay.
with respect.
So we're looking at a renaissance in education in Arkansas. I mean, today has been a wonderful discussion. I mean, just wow. I am so proud of every one of these commissioners and our employees and our little lady who produced the brochure. And we're a linchpin in that. And we're very important to this renaissance and what we're building here. And I think everybody here today and all the viewers that are watching that and saw this discussion today would agree. And so, I mean, heck, if you want to lock me up or something, we had to have information and we had to have it quick because we were about to lose Arkansas PBS. And now Senator Sullivan and I, we've worked this out. And we had a wonderful discussion, and it's worked out now. So we're moving forward with what we are. But I'm telling you, I want somebody to look at these people in the eye and tell them they're incompetent. These commissioners are not incompetent. And that's what they're trying. They're trying to fire this whole, I mean, Senator Sullivan had this idea, which is fine. I mean, he's going to fire this whole commission. Does anybody here think that these commissioners are incompetent? Or our staff? I'm sorry, it is just not that. So I had to react quickly. And when you're the chairman of the commission, you make decisions to save the commission. And that's what I did, Gary. I didn't sit around for 2 weeks and then say, oh, sorry, it's over. I was trying to save this commission and the work that we're doing. My gosh, we're one of the top PBS stations in the whole country. We win awards as the top PBS station in the country. And we were about to be taken out, which would have been a horrible loss of an asset of the state of Arkansas. And so, yes, I ordered that opinion, and I'd do it again. And maybe that disqualifies me for being chairman, but I'll tell you what, I'm passionate about education. I'm passionate about what this commission is doing, and I will fight for it every minute of the day. And so that's what we were doing. And, you know, maybe we didn't have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, but we have saved the commission now. And we've saved the work that we are doing.
I appreciate what you've said. I still submit that it is your opinion. You use the word we many times. We did not act. We could have had a special meeting. we could have been informed. We could have discussed. We could have discussed strategy to oppose or meet with or attempt amendment for any of these things. So I appreciate your passion. But what I'm suggesting that one of the reasons we seem to be in the situation we are is because the commission is not doing what the commission is charged to do under oath.
And you're saying we're incompetent.
No, sir. And if you know that's not true.
Well, just what you said.
I have not used the word incompetent. You have many times. I can look at every staff member, every fellow commissioner, our chairman, and respect the passion and the work. I'm saying I have a role, my fellow commissioners have a role, by the laws of the state of Arkansas and by the oath we took to lead the Arkansas Educational Television Network. I find it disturbing, and believe me, I know articles are never always right, and people get misquoted. Yeah. That's why I wanted clarity in this. But to have not, in today's meeting, been presented the letter, for that subject to not be on the agenda, it feels as though it's being kept from the very commissioners whose role on this commission is at stake with the passage of SB 184. So I reject your characterization of what I'm trying to achieve.
Well, did you support SB 184?
That is irrelevant in this discussion.
It might not be. Let me tell you, we are an independent commission. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that we don't have a political person such as the department director, the Secretary of Education, to head up Arkansas PBS. Is because under the FCC and our Constitution, we have a responsibility to report the news to our citizens as we see it. And if we put it under a political entity, such as the department, the head of the Department of Education, appointed by the governor, we love him. We work very closely with him and the Department of Education, as you've heard here all today. And one thing is I didn't want to mess that up, and the governor. But that they are political animals. And Arkansas PBS becomes a propaganda arm for whoever is in power, whether it's the Republicans or it's the Democrats or it's the Green Party or whoever. And that's the reason we're an independent commission. And I'm sorry, I was in a position to make that decision, and I made that decision very quickly because it had to be done very quickly. And now we have an understanding with Senator Sullivan, and I'm saying we've got a great working relationship with him going forward, and we've avoided what I considered a real potential tragedy.
Well, sir, once again, you said we have an agreement with Senator Sullivan.
I'll say, how about me and him, and we're going to work through it, and he's got, like I told you first, his something near and dear and heart is homeschool education. We spent 45 minutes today talking about homeschool education and what we can do for that. We're going to work with Senator Sullivan, and I'm excited about working with him. I think he brings a lot to the table, and we have an understanding with each other. And so, I'll answer questions on this all day long, but as far as I'm concerned, and I think Senator Sullivan's concerned, it's over right now. And, if y'all want to vote to censure me, I'll proudly wear that.
Mr. Chairman, I have not suggested censure. I have simply asked for the authority due this commission by the laws of the state of Arkansas that we exercise our authority. That's all I'm asking. Whether we support or don't support or are agnostic on this particular bill is irrelevant, in my view, to this discussion. So I have nothing but respect for the chair. I simply am asking for that going forward. I wanted clarity from what I read because, again, we shouldn't have to operate in the dark. And we are unable to talk to each other and discuss these things. It's very healthy to have a constructive relationship and a healthy tension between boards, commissions in this case, and management. It makes all of us better.
I
So,
don't disagree with you there, Gary. I don't disagree with you.
thank you. In that regard, because, and again, this is my 4th meeting, I hear a lot of discussion, and I asked at the first meeting, do we make suggestions? Do we make motions? I would like to, at this point, again, ask Mr. Lowry to describe what our power is in regard to going into executive session.
Okay, that's great.
Are you ready?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay.
Please take over.
Every state board and commission in the state of Arkansas operates under the authority of the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, and that act requires open meetings. This is why this is recorded, why the public has access to this proceeding. There is one exception.
Aaron, do you mind pulling your microphone a little bit closer?
Sure.
I'm Lord.
Is that better? There is one exception to the open meeting requirement of FOIA, and that's executive session. So executive session is off the record. It's a discussion of the commissioners, and it's limited in what can be discussed in an executive session. So executive session is allowed to consider employment, appointment, termination, discipline, promotion, demotion, or resignation. Those are the 6 topics that can be discussed during executive session. There are a few other things that are allowed, but they don't pertain to this board. If the board wanted to discuss those things, those items, they could go into executive session. They have to announce on the record the purpose of going into executive session. And then at that point, if the board chose to go into executive session, then anybody who's not on the commission, I keep saying board, but commission, anybody who's not on the commission would have to be excused. They would have to leave. The board, if it's an appointment issue, the board can invite the executive director to come and be a part of this. They can invite the employee that they're going to be talking about, and they can invite the employee's supervisor to be part of the executive session. Everybody else must leave. So the recording would stop. Everything's off the record. I would leave. The PBS employees would all leave. Just the commission would be part of the executive session. While you're in executive session, discussions have to be limited to that employment type issue. Votes cannot be taken. You can ask each other about, answer questions, ask questions. You can ask, how would you vote if this came up? But a formal vote cannot be taken until you go back on the record. So when the executive session was over, you would call that session over, and then you would go back on the record, invite the public back in, turn the recording back on, and at that point you would have to take a vote as far as whatever was discussed during the executive session. The vote would have to be done on the record.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, like, in this current situation we had, I mean, it was moving fast. I was seeking knowledge. I mean, I could have entered a query on AI, I guess. But I asked for somebody who had this knowledge, and that was an FCC law firm. Can I not go out? Can I not seek knowledge? I know there's some particular statutes and that you know, you guys are our first call. But why can I not seek knowledge if I go out, or the staff? If we need to know, we had to know what was going on. We knew there were problems with this, and we had to get somebody knowledgeable to tell us what the problems were, and we did that. Can we not seek knowledge?
I think that it depends on what you're seeking knowledge for. So there are some limitations on who you can consult and in what area. So the Attorney General is the representative of this board. So most questions would come through the Attorney General's office. Now, in this particular case, if it's an FCC licensure that the Commission has retained, or that PBS has retained to answer specific FCC type questions, then you would certainly go to them and ask for that guidance, because that's a specialized law that honestly, the Attorney General does not
And we've
have.
been told that. We've been told that.
Yeah. So as long as you retain them for a purpose that's been approved by the Attorney General's office, you could seek that advice from outside counsel.
Okay. Let's say that we needed, like, we hire several advocates. In fact, I've been working on this issue. They're advocates, lobbyists, consultants, whatever.
We didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, we
Foundation
didn't.
did.
The foundation hired them, yeah. Let's see, I mean, we hired, let's say that we needed some help in putting together an FCC license for whatever it is. Actually, I think we've got about 10 FCC licenses.
We do.
Let's say we need to hire a consultant. It may be a law firm, may not be. What do we do in that case? Is that not a decision of the executive staff? I mean, we're oversight, the commission is. We can't run everything, but that seems like that'd be a reasonable decision for the staff to handle. And if it came off the wheels, well, then the commission can address it.
Right. So that would be up to the commission to decide if that was the commission's purview or that was the executive staff's.
Okay.
Could you summarize that between the two of you? Summarize that question and your answer a little bit more.
Do you want me to summarize the question or the answer?
The question and the answer. How's that?
Yeah, is the staff free to hire help or a consultant or somebody has knowledge on, let's just, since we're talking about FCC, let's say FCC licensing, but it may be on other stuff. Hey, it could be on computers or something like that. Are they free to do that in their capacity as running the organization? And we're oversight. We're a board is what we are. And we're there when it falls off the wheels. I mean, do we need to approve every single move that they make?
I don't think that you need to approve every single move that they make. It would depend on what was being sought. So something like a contract for someone to work on their computers may not fall under the authority of this board. But something like we want to, I'm trying to think of a hypothetical here, but something that fell under the purview of this board as far as, we wanted to hire someone to tell us how to spend money on production procedures or something like that. This board does have oversight on how these funds are dispersed. So that might be something that the board, the commission would have to vote on and decide. So it really depends on what the issue is as to who makes the decision.
Okay.
What if it's a question of how to influence public policy?
I'm not real sure how to answer that question.
As I should say, on behalf of a commission, rather than as an individual.
I don't think that request was to influence public policy. We were asking for a legal opinion, which it was very important for us to get that, and there was no way that this was going to work in the Department of Education.
Your statement alone, Mr. Chairman, indicates your position on public policy that may not be shared by your fellow commissioners.
That's true, but
So my question is, doesn't this body have a role in deciding the public policy positions of AETN?
I would say yes, and the commission, trying to choose my words carefully here, the commission does have the right to speak as one, and I think that might be the actual question that's being asked. So if the commission wants to take a position in any area, the commission should have a motion and a vote and then make some sort of make their position known at that point.
Thank you.
And that's not a legal question, that's more of my opinion. There's no law that says that, but the commission does want to act as one body.
I appreciate that, and you made a very clear distinction between law and opinion, and I would submit that the letter from a law firm is opinion. It is not, it's well-founded opinion, but until we get a chance to review it and consider it, I would make a motion at this time that each member of this commission be afforded a copy of the letter that,
We'll get it here.
I'd like it in a formal motion, please, sir.
It's on its way down.
It's on its way down. I mean, it's everything else. I thought I'd have to stack them here and hunt them out, but I don't always get it. And one reason is,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yeah.
I have made a motion. It's on the floor. I guess awaiting your.
so the motion is that every commissioner should have a copy of the letter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's been a motion made that every commissioner should have a copy of the letter. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Or no nay. Okay. It'll
Mr.
be
Chairman,
nay.
I have an additional motion.
Okay.
I move that before anyone speaks on behalf of AETN Commission in regard to public policy, that this commission have the opportunity to vote on the position.
Okay, we've been speaking public policy this whole meeting. How do you expect us to do that? I get asked about,
Mr. Chairman, there's a motion, point of order, there's a motion on the floor. We can have discussion
Okay.
after a second.
okay, well, can we have discussion now?
I don't,
That's what I was doing, I was discussing it.
we don't have a second yet, so there's not a need to discuss and if we don't get a
Okay,
second.
there's been a motion made. Is there a second to, go ahead and say it again, Gary.
That neither the executive director or the chairman of the commission or any other individual member of the board may speak on behalf of the commission in regard to public policy decisions.
Okay, there's been a motion made. Is there a second? Second made. Any discussion?
Yes. I pulled up because I like to be
Cynthia,
prepared.
do you mind pulling your microphone a little closer?
Isn't too far away. Well, I didn't want it to get next to my phone and pick up something because I'm looking at the document about commissioner responsibilities and commissioners should commit themselves to. And in order to vote on the motion that was made, it is very unclear to me where the line is in terms of speaking on public policy and where the staff speaks and the commission speaks. If you look at the language that we have been given, going back to the oath, commissioners should commit themselves to, it is very unclear to me. And so it would be helpful to know, again, what that would entail. So I would just like further clarification because by reading through our responsibilities, there is something that says that the executive director carries out the mission and policies. I am uncertain as to where that line is, and so I would like clarification.
I'm sorry. Could you tell me what you're reading, what you're looking at? Is it statute?
Commissioner responsibilities of Arkansas PBS, and then underneath that, it says a commissioner is subject to removal if they're absent, and then it says commissioners should commit themselves to, and there are a list of responsibilities.
Could we read the webs, could you read the actual word?
It's just Arkansas PBS.
How did you get there? I was looking,
You can't find it?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
She's on our website, I was just trying to get the link.
I can email it, and then that way we could share it. I'm happy to do that.
I don't think I can give an answer to that question at this point.
Right. That's the gnarliness of the question, right?
Right.
Yes.
I do know that when this commission was started, one of the tasks of the commission was to adopt rules regulating the conduct of its meetings and the transactions and the business of the commission. I don't know if that's where that language came from or if that was just written and put on the website. So I would need to know a little bit more about what authority that language has before I could then look into the interpretation of it.
Well, it looks as though it was adopted by the commission itself on 6/21/00 and amended in 04/6/16. And again, I'm happy to share this.
Yes, ma'am.
It comes up if
Yeah.
you Google commissioner responsibilities at Arkansas
Screen, I
PBS.
actually have it. There we go. This may help.
So it looks to me, based on the very bottom, originally adopted by the Arkansas PBS Commission, which you mentioned, Commissioner. It looks like that was a motion made and part of the rules made by the commission. So it would be up to the commission to interpret what that means. It's not a legal position that I could comment on.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion and would defer to my fellow member to perhaps at our next meeting or at a special meeting of this group.
Let's flush it out.
Let's get to the root of it. That would be my preference.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have another motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that we commissioners get a copy of the past motion or the legal authority that the commissioners, and I quote from the article, that the commissioners have delegated the exercise of program content control to the commission's executive director and chief executive officer.
I think it, and Aaron, you might help on this too. There's a Supreme Court case called Forbes versus AETC. And I believe that the Supreme Court gives the executive director the charge to be able to make those
States in
decisions.
there
State Supreme Court.
that-
State Supreme Court.
No, it's the big Supreme Court.
Oh,
It's
okay.
It's the main Supreme Court, but they, in that decision, it does clearly state that that's where the programming authority lies.
It was,
But, I
this
mean,
was in,
yes, it was.
is it okay to have discussion?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
This is in quotes. The commissioners have delegated the exercise of program content control to the commission's executive director and chief executive officer. I'm simply looking for when we or our predecessors delegated that authority. If it's a Supreme Court case, then that's the Supreme Court. But this says the commission delegated that authority. That's what I want to see.
It's inherent in the role itself, in that,
It could be. Is this an inaccurate quote?
it could be. And there are multiple reasons. I mean, it is part of the role, but for example, Corporation for Public Broadcasting has in its eligibility rules very clearly stated that. Oh, sorry. In the CPB eligibility requirements for us to be able to receive the funding from CPB, it very clearly states for eligibility that the programming, what programming goes on the air and when it goes on the air, is the purview of the senior executive of the network.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion and have a substitute motion. I move that each commissioner be given the authority, the source of authority for delegating the exercise of program content control to the commission's executive director and chief executive officer.
Good. We'll get this straightened out.
We will. We need to.
Yeah, Mr. Newton's made a motion that we give the power for, go ahead and repeat it again.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe the motion, Mr. Chair, is that each commissioner receive documentation of where the source of authority for programming is given to the executive director, and I believe the executive director referenced some documents from the national PBS or whatever, but the point is to get that.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much.
Is that correct?
I've only played a lawyer on TV. So, thank
And he's
you.
our star. Thank you, Dean Nance.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, in that spirit, I do have a series of motions that I think are self-explanatory. If they require discussion, obviously, we would have discussion, but I would like to proceed with those.
Sure, you want to go ahead and vote on this
I
one
don't know that
first?
we got a second on that last.
Oh, it's still, oh, I see, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion's been made that the commission be supplied with documents, as well as Aaron, which gives the executive director certain authorities that have been responding to this issue. So, is there a second? Second made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay, and it passes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I move to direct the executive director and/or her designee or needs to collaborate with the Arkansas Department of Education, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to make all produced educator professional development available to all Arkansas educators, be they public district, open enrollment public charter, private independent, homeschool, and/or micro school. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? And, I can say this is already, and as you can tell from the discussion today, this is already in the pipeline. I talked to Senator Sullivan this morning about it. And Director Olivier's on it. Obviously, I didn't know, but Sandy's on it, evidently. And so it is in the pipeline. It's something that we've anticipated and we've been working on. So with that, is there any other comments?
Yes, I have a question of clarification to the movement.
Yeah.
So would this apply to, we know that there are statutory delegations. In other words, if I have to take, being a law dean, right, I have to take the mandatory reporter, would this apply to everything, even though the things that are not, that are educationally focused to educators in those settings, or are you more focused on things that go to educational rudimentary things like reading and math and things like that? I just want to be clear.
There's a robust library of professional development.
Right.
And by directing that Arkansas PBS collaborate with the Department of Education, then the appropriateness would be governed.
I see. Okay.
At that point. This is not a mandate for Arkansas PBS to release
I
all of
gotcha.
that. It is to collaborate in making, our role is to serve the citizens of Arkansas, not just to serve the public school districts and licensed teachers of Arkansas. And so, in my view, this would be able to open a rich, robust library of appropriate materials to anyone that is conducting education.
As determined by the Department of, okay, thank
Yes.
you for that clarification.
Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
There was.
Yes, there was a second.
Second?
Are we
Second
still
made?
discussing it?
Yes. Any discussion?
I wonder about, and that's exactly how I mean it, I wonder about when we open up resources, which makes so much sense. I want to make sure that there's accountability. I think that's been a piece that has been talked about a lot, is accountability. I want to make sure that there's, I know, because again, I can only speak from my background, that in public education there is so much assessment and there is so much accountability. So I wonder about that accountability piece, and I'm not even positive what that looks like, but I know that everybody that is a licensed teacher and has access to those resources, then we are accountable for, like our students are assessed, and that doesn't always happen in homeschool. They're not assessed in the same way. So I wonder about a different outcome measure. I just wonder about that.
This is not focused on that. It is focused on the professional development of those that are educating Arkansans. And so I have deep experience at the Arkansas State Board of Education as an observer over the last dozen years. And I have full confidence in the Department of Education and the State Board of Education to make reasonable determinations of what should or should not be shared. But I've heard it said in here before, because we have these discussions, but it never gets embedded in the record of our meetings. And so there's not formal follow-through, which I feel like that we need to have. That I feel like this, we've heard before about the relationship between the department and how constructive it is and how we're partners, how we work together. So this is just directing our side of it, with which we have control, to collaborate with them to potentially release something that's going to help people across the state. When it comes to assessments and all that, that's prescribed in statute, it's prescribed in rule, so many other things. This is just, we have a rich library that could benefit people that aren't necessarily in the prescribed pipeline for professional development.
I appreciate that clarity.
And if I might, Mr. Chair, my second to Gary's motion is primarily because as a college faculty, I wanted to be able to go in years ago and look and see what's available for high school teachers, so that I could look for gaps and think of things that I might want to emphasize, because I taught primarily 75% freshmen. I wanted to cover that, and I was unable to get access even with AD. I mean, I requested it through ADE, and there were roadblocks to me getting on there, and it's just, I just wanted to read it, and so in that regard, I feel like there's a little bit of a secret handshake somewhere that, not intentionally, an unintentional, but unavailability of this information.
So
and I
much
agree,
of-
it's a great library.
So much of what we do is based on what we've always done. And so what we hear at the top in the Department of Education is that we're going to be student-focused and that we're going to honor all choices. And so this, I believe, is a great suggestion from this body to the largest department, or certainly the most well-funded department in the state, to, okay, let's share with all. They may have reasons not to, but at least it's put out there.
I get the impression that we're pretty used to them telling us what to do, and I think that, go ahead, Ann.
And I have no problem.
I don't want to be presumptuous with them. I don't want.
No, I have no problem with the
Mr. Olivier
suggestion,
be upset with us.
my question is this outside our role as commissioners, as an oversight board? The suggestion's fine, but that's my question. Is this within our role?
Or is it within our role to
as
make
an
the
oversight
suggestion to the
board
Department of Education?
to suggest to the staff,
So the
management?
word is collaborate.
Yeah.
Right, collaborate.
Yes.
So,
I don't. It's just my question. It seems to me that it could be outside our role to get involved with this particular thing.
I mean,
It's,
for us to instruct them is beyond our role.
we can't.
We can't. So,
But for us to instruct you to do it, is that outside our role?
No. In my view, it's not.
Yeah,
We
and
have-
in mine it is.
we have the ability to direct our director to collaborate, which is what,
And it may be an access issue. I feel like this isn't on, I'm sorry, for yelling in y'all's ears. I feel like it's an access issue because it required a password and things that are controlled by ADE. And I think it's perfectly within our purview to ask for, if there's a reason that we shouldn't be able to extend that to the people you put in the motion, the groups, then maybe let them tell us. But if we're hosting this, AETN, Arkansas PBS is hosting that information on our site at our network here, then I think it's appropriate for you to convey to the department that we've requested this be done.
we've been told before that we don't do it because of those login credentials and an added cost. The system has a cost for each user. Maybe that's something the department, if it gets presented to them, that they would want to cover that cost, if that's important for them. But at least it could be on the table, and it could be.
Or if there's a different way, if they need login for high school faculty, K-12, pre-K-12 faculty, that's one thing. And maybe there's a way to have it accessible to public that doesn't require login. So that wouldn't be the. Do you see do you see where, yeah.
Absolutely. So anytime we have a video that's part of a PD course that would be beneficial for people outside of a licensed, trying to get their license, we always do put those out. And I think that's, again, us making it more aware to the public and those non-licensed teachers. So yes, we do that. I think it's the point that, so PD is credit hours. So not necessarily all those types of non-traditional teachers want to take a test. I mean, those laws don't apply to them. And I think this is a bigger question, really. If ADE doesn't have law or rule on PD for those users, can we teach them about laws and PDs that aren't applicable to them? So I think it's a bigger question of moving these here and like these that wouldn't cause us to be giving them wrong information. These here, how do we navigate? And I think we've done it, but maybe we need to take a deeper dive into it. Does that make sense?
I just want to add. So in my world too, when we're talking about professional development, Arkansas Ideas is a place that I can go to get it. I work with early childhood. There's a dashboard called PDR, Professional Development Registry, that is specifically for K-12 people. I didn't have access to that that's specifically for birth to 5. So in the pre-K-12, I didn't have access to that, but I didn't need access to that. I did have access to ESC Works, which is through co-ops and is statewide, and it's through teachers. But my early childhood people don't have access to that. I think there's just different professional development sites and sources geared at target audiences. And I don't know that it's good or bad, because it's been frustrating to me sometimes navigating that and trying to get access. But I think that's part of my reserve too, is because this just feels like there may be reasons I don't yet know, or some just things I'm not considering in this. And I worry about agreeing to it, because I just think there may be some things I don't know.
Well, couldn't the department will be the ultimate guide. We're not going to do anything that the department or the state board doesn't want to do. Maybe they've never thought of this, but we're the repository of a great wealth of information. Our mission in law says the Arkansas Educational Television Commission makes the benefits of educational television available to and promotes its use by inhabitants of Arkansas. This is just, hopefully, sharing more with Arkansans of what's already been done. It's not directing to do more, but if the department says they can't, and the state board says they can't or won't, that's the governor on all of this. We're content creators, this organization.
And distributors.
And distributors, yes. So it will be wholly up to the department to determine what we can or cannot release. That would be.
And I would submit that we're just entitled to know the reason, because I've asked about this before, and if it's not, if it's accessibility, if it's login or whatever, but we ought to be given full and complete information on that.
I'll try to get more information. I mean, my only understanding is there are no PD laws or rules applicable to those non-licensed teachers. So these courses are teaching a law or a rule that do not apply to those that don't.
Well, clarify, we have thousands of non-licensed teachers in public school classrooms across Arkansas. I don't think PD only go, many of them, as long as they're on a track to be licensed or be on a track for certification. So again, I don't think, that's not our world to navigate who is, but just, my experience is that sometimes things don't happen because people don't ask. I'm
Yeah.
just asking that we ask.
Sure, and I'll write out some stuff because we do have non-licensed offerings on Ideas where they can log in. They have an ALS account. That's because they got an account with a background check and all those things. Those all happen. Like, that's how they get their ALS account. But there's non-licensed, there are offerings. The ones that I'm talking about that are teaching law and rule are locked into people who, the only ones that it applies to. So there's, I think a lot of this
And
is,
that's not
I
the
may
things
be.
I'm interested in.
Right,
That's
so
what we're
I
saying.
may
That's
need
different.
to kind of put together, and I'll talk to AD, like, maybe there's not an awareness that we do have so many things for non-licensed. And I think maybe it seems like we don't. There's a lot of
There's a lot.
non-licensed teachers in Ideas, because there's only about 50,000 licensed teachers in the state. We have 96,000 users. But we don't teach them things that are incorrect. And that's where there's that breakdown. This is your dashboard. This is your dashboard. If that makes sense. And I can write it, I can make it a little more, like I can write out something and then talk to them as well. Yeah.
The main point of the motion is to talk with them, is to collaborate
Yeah.
with the department.
And I mean, from 5 miles up looking down, we want to encourage as much use of our materials as possible. I mean, that's what you're saying,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. You want to repeat the motion? I think we've already seconded it, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah. It's already there.
Go ahead.
Or you say it again?
Oh,
I'm voting aye.
Okay.
okay.
I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to collaborate with the Arkansas Department of Education, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, to potentially make all produced educator professional development available to all Arkansas educators, be they public district, open enrollment public charter, private independent, homeschool, and/or micro school. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. There's been a second already. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I'll tell you, hold up your hands. I'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And there's one nay, I believe.
One abstention.
Okay, 1 abstention. So the motion passes. Thank you, Gary.
Chairman, I have another motion.
You bet.
Yes. I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to research the availability of a broadcast quality series based on the science of reading, which teaches pre-K through 2 students, as well as those beyond pre-K 2 who are illiterate, to read. If such a series is not available, the executive director and/or her designees shall work with the Arkansas Department of Education, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to create a series for Arkansans. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Would you accept a friendly amendment, which is to encourage the Department of Education to help fund that initiative if we need to do it, right?
Certainly, but I think that's a given. That,
Well.
that,
That's the dean.
yes. Listen. I think this is focused on researching and I think we get to that point that most certainly, and I will commit to you, it should be funded by the Arkansas Department of Education.
Is that part of it?
No, sir. At this point, we're not ready to create the content yet. There may be a series out there already.
Okay.
But we can, I would say in all things, if we're doing something to lift up education in Arkansas, that we should seek that funding from whatever corner we can find it. So
Okay.
but I just don't want to get so specific in
Okay.
this.
I'd like to recommend that Dean Nance. Is that what you think that it ought to be in there?
What? I mean, I don't know that we have the authority to to direct the Department of Education, but we certainly like to suggest that we think this is something important that should be funded. And the reason I added that language is because I know our chair said there's discussions about that, about additional funding to do some of these things. So I was just trying to kind of
Sure.
wrap a bow on it, if that makes sense.
I would accept the dean's friendly amendment.
Okay.
Well, if we're gonna do it, let's have the money to do it.
So let's first vote on the amendment to request funding at the same time.
Or suggest that the department fund it. I guess we can't really tell them. Would it be
Hope somebody's
request or
getting this down.
suggest? From us?
I think it would be suggest.
Suggest, yes.
Shall I?
Suggest.
Okay. Discuss, you said?
Suggest.
Suggest, okay. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Oh.
Are we finished?
Well, okay, no, I'm sorry.
I thought we were still
I thought,
defining.
On the
that
amendment.
was
you
just
know,
the
that
amendment.
actually
That was
occurred
just
to
the
me, I thought,
amendment. Now we
golly,
have
we
an
beat it to
amended,
death.
now we
Yeah.
have an amended
That was just the
motion to
amendment.
discuss.
Yeah,
Gotcha, thank you.
okay. So let's open it for discussion, the amendment.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
We
Okay.
added the amendment,
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
so now we have a whole thing.
It is now open to discuss the motion and the amendment.
I would just be very reluctant in this space to push this forward. Not because I think that it's not important work. I think it's the most important work. But I do know that the Department of Ed already funds something called Launchpad. That's digitally accessed, and in fact, early educators are trained and given they're even given the technology if they need it, and the support, and that has to do with phonemic awareness, and that's a newer program, so that's funds that have been already put in place directly to speak to this need. I would be incredibly reluctant to say to the Department of Ed to consider us stepping into this space for that reason, one, that it already exists, and two, I don't believe that more screen time for this type of education is the best way to work in that space. I think our resources are already well spent in very good ways, and does that make sense? I just think, especially for early learners, screen is not the best. We have in the Launchpad that's in place, it's very, very careful about how much time students interact with it, but it brings some consistency. But in working with young learners, in phonemic awareness and in reading, I'm just very reluctant to say, let's produce something here, or even put efforts into something that would result ultimately in more screen time. I feel like if the department has that need or sees that need, that direction will come.
It won't, in my experience. The department, like any institution, they're narrowly focused on what they do. We're in the screen business here. We've talked about potential of Blueberry being transitioned into this. We've talked about the value of Mystery League. This is not an either or. It's simply to either find or produce something that doesn't reinforce reading, but actually teaches reading to phonemic awareness.
Right.
And so if we're going to be in this business, what we put out on air, on broadcast, should lift the whole ecosystem as a value add to it. So that, I think.
Point of
it's-
information
yes.
for the chair or Gary, are you suggesting this be for student use? I took it to be for teacher training use.
No, this is broadcast quality. I would.
But aimed at, who would it be aimed at? Teachers or
Students.
students? Okay, then Ann was on the right track and I was on the wrong track. I
Yes.
just clarified.
Much like Mystery League is not aimed at teachers.
That's right. Okay.
It's
I
aimed.
thought you were trying to just teacher training.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor with an amendment. second. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.
Nay.
2 nays. Okay, it passes.
Mr. Chairman, I have another motion.
Yes.
I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create a broadcast quality series on high-wage career opportunities in Arkansas and the pathways to obtaining them. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Mr. Chair, before we discuss, we have some commissioners who might need a comfort break.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was wishing for someone to ask for that.
Yeah,
That
we'll
was
take-
my next motion.
Would that be
Yes,
acceptable,
yes, we'll take a
Mr.
break
Chair?
and be
Thank
back
you.
in a few minutes.
So 5 minutes?
Yes.
So you can make that joke and then say, what was the real one?
We're back. There was a motion to take a bathroom break. We all agreed to it. And, here we are. Gary, I believe you said another motion.
Yes, sir. And I'll proceed as quickly as possible. All of these are suggestions. It was merely to get this on the record as part of the minutes so we don't lose sight of these things.
Okay.
And it was on the heels of that being completely surprised by the delegated authority when it comes to content. So these are all, for the most part, until the end, content descriptors. This motion was, I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create a broadcast quality series on high-wage career opportunities in Arkansas and the pathways to obtaining them. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. There's been a motion made to create certain content. How do you describe that, Gary?
Broadcast quality series on high-wage career opportunities in Arkansas and the pathways to obtaining them.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Open it for discussion.
Arkansas does not have a jobs problem. When last I heard from the Arkansas State Chamber, there are 60,000 jobs going unfilled. Arkansans don't know about opportunities all over our state, such as in Northeast Arkansas is now the largest producer of steel in the United States. There are people coming in from contiguous states or even those that aren't connected to Arkansas to work 4 days on and go home for 3 days. And potentially 19-year-olds after a 6-month training can make 6 figures. This is unknown to many in Arkansas.
Not in Northeast Arkansas.
Not in Northeast. But one of the reasons Northeast Arkansas is one of our growth areas is because of this. And so we have such rich industry clusters, like the defense industry in Camden, all over this state that need highlighting, and for adults all over the state and those of coming of age know that there is great opportunity in what we used to call the land of opportunity, and to keep talent here at high wage positions with relatively little training or education required.
So you're wanting people, our staff, to go out and make content liable for the steel mill, or go to Camden for down there, or go to certain areas around the state to make a program.
Yes, sir. And it's essentially, as I think about it, I think about dirty jobs,
Yeah.
but I think about wanted jobs. So you have somebody like a Mike Rogers, the czar of workforce in Arkansas, going and actually working in the steel and showing what it takes to be a worker here and to make what people don't even realize, the wages that are available in something like that. So it's if Chuck Dovish traveled Arkansas, looking at tourism opportunity,
So you're talking about a Chuck Dovish type thing.
where you go and actually see what's available. Because what our experience in economic development is people are very place-bound, and they don't know what they don't know. And this is a great way to celebrate Arkansas and to educate our population, because ultimately we talk about education, reading ability, so forth. It all leads to, if we can increase the per capita income of Arkansans, that is the greatest thing that we can do to lift our economy. So that's the impetus behind this.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just wondering, is that not the Department of Labor
No, sir.
job?
What about the
Why would it
funding
not
of it?
be?
I mean,
Well, if we can't do it for fund, we find it. If we can't, if we don't have the funding.
Could you put subject to the funding? Because if you can't find the funding, there's.
How about explore the creation? And that way, all things are on the table.
Explore the creation is more palatable only because we still don't have the answer on your initial issue, right? Which is who decides programming. So because I don't have that, I don't know how much directing we can do. And I know you want to put a pin in it for the future and make sure it doesn't get lost. So softening it is much better for me until we get that clarification.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that helpful?
Yes, very.
I agree with Dean Nance.
The time frame is a problem to do this many things
For
in that
next-
amount
Well,
of
that,
time.
that's why
The
specific.
bandwidth, you know.
That's why I specifically said progress. Progress could include, we haven't moved on this yet. But at least it's still on our list. It is embedded in our minutes, and we know that okay, this is what we've established that we would like to see.
Okay. I mean, I think it's a worthy idea. It's like I said, I'm just not sure it's our bailiwick. And then I question bandwidth, and I agree. We've got to figure out this who directs content, because I mean, we can definitely give suggestions. I know we've all got them. I've talked to Courtney all the time what we ought to do. We ought to do this. She doesn't listen to me a lot, but it's definitely worthy.
Yeah, it's a worthy cause.
So,
I agree with that too. And I think the idea is great. When you were describing it, I'm like, that is so exciting, and I don't know about these possibilities, but I have that, and I love that you're bringing it up because now it is on the minutes and it has been noted. But I just like my reservation for the last one. I feel uncomfortable putting it as a directive, but I am so pleased that you brought it up. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I would love that it could happen. The other thing that gives me pause, considering the funds, is also the capacity. The time that we got in the most trouble was when we rushed to produce something that was ultimately really wonderful, but in that push to this, we lost some footing.
we killed the staff.
We lost some footing and we killed the staff. So I worry about capacity, and for both those reasons I have concern. But thank you for bringing it up. I think it's awesome.
You know, you can only do so much.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't do it all.
Okay.
Could you make that as a suggestion then? Is that what,
Explore creation.
is that what?
With no deadline.
Okay.
I can live with that.
It's added to the queue.
Okay.
As long as that's approved
That's
by
good.
Dean Nance, I'm okay.
Be quiet.
But did we have a second on that? I'm not.
I'll second it.
Okay. There's been a motion made to explore the creation of a high net worth job opportunity.
Shall I restate it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create, or to explore creation of a broadcast quality series on high-wage career opportunities in Arkansas and the pathways to obtaining them. Progress shall be reported at the commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. Been a motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
I guess just one more thing, Mr. Chair, and that would be to see if there might be I think, was that your point, Ann, about whether there might be another agency, or maybe that was Woody, another agency that might want to look at that as well. So
Can we put that
potential
in there?
partnerships,
Well, I
because
think
it does
that's a-
say explore.
It's-
I know, I'm just putting it
No,
out
I
there
agree.
the same way.
And again, that's like the Department of Commerce, which is in charge of
Yeah,
our
they have-
economic development incentives and so forth, would be a logical partner
Right.
in this.
Yes.
So that's part of the exploration.
That magic
Yeah.
word,
I just want to get
collaboration.
it on the
Yes.
record, too.
Yes, ma'am. I like that very much.
Okay, so do we need to add collaboration there, or are we just ready to vote? We're just investigating, right?
We're just investigating.
Explore.
Exploring, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Nay.
Mr. Chairman, I
You
have
contrarian.
I worry about money and capacity. I'm a teacher.
two more motions, just so you know where we're headed. This is not in regard to content, but I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create an evaluation tool for all existing and proposed Arkansas PBS programming utilizing the following metrics. Utilizing, but not limited to, the following metrics. Does it meet AETN's mission as described in law? 2, is it or its comparables available on the commercial market? 3, how educational is it? 4, how Arkansas is it?
There's been a motion made. Is there a second?
Would you read that again?
I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create an evaluation tool for all existing and proposed Arkansas PBS programming, utilizing but not limited to the following metrics. Does it meet AETN's mission as described in law? Is it or its comparables available on the commercial market? How educational is it? How Arkansas is it?
So this will be future content that
Well,
we produce.
all current programming.
And what do we do? Produce a memo expounding on those? Or?
That's the thought. Try to be as permissive as possible, but I think we need to. I think we need to think about those things when we do programming.
Yeah.
And there's always a mission creep whatever organizations you're in, and sometimes it's just good to, okay, let's reevaluate where we are.
Any other discussion?
Do you have a recommendation for what kind of tool this would be?
No, ma'am, just stated there, something that we create, or that the team creates,
Just 4 considerations.
but not limited to those.
Question, are you asking, I thought you were just asking for our programming. Do you mean the stuff that, just the programs that are created here
Well,
or that air?
right.
Yeah, those are
I
very different.
I was very inclusive in it because obviously the bulk of our programming is national.
Are you wanting evaluations on that?
It would be helpful because some of it it's educational and it meets our mission, but it's also available, something comparable on the commercial market, and it's not Arkansas. I just think it's good for us to always look at why we're here, what we do.
I could see the value of us knowing the percentage, you know. I mean, I think most of the stuff on PBS is very high quality.
I agree.
And I agree that there's some comparable available on the commercial market, but it would be worthwhile for us to be able to defend what we do here and to defend the programming, to say, well, we've studied this and we've looked at it and this is how we see it.
I appreciate that comment so much because I think because there's been such a flurry of motions, the overall goal with this is to try to demonstrate relevance and to guard against the very things that you were describing earlier, that we as a commission are doing our jobs to the best of our ability and to try to meet the needs of Arkansans. No pride in authorship. This was just a way to get started in that. And my experience is once you commit to core values, core principles, and you hold to them, then you can defend a whole lot. And we have so much to be proud of with this storied organization. But we need to be able to, and I say no pride in author. I had a very engaged legislator say that's how he would judge everything that's on Arkansas PBS, is how Arkansas is it and how educational is it. And if it's both, then the 2 I added was, does it beat our mission? And is it comparable to anything available in the commercial market? Because I do think we get lulled into, there's such great episodic programming coming out of national, but gosh, if we were starting over, would public broadcasting be the one that did? I think now public broadcasting has educated people to agree that we expect higher quality series, that sort of thing. So I feel like the public broadcasting was a vanguard in elevating people's tastes in that regard. So I'm not at all trying to create something to do away with programming, but just so that we all have at our fingertips a defense of what we are doing.
I have had that same comment from legislators as well, that question.
I was reminded funded, as you were speaking, there was an in-depth study where, and I wish I could remember the year, and I wish I could pull up better what you're talking about, but I can remember really evaluating the work that Arkansas PBS does, what's our North Star. The strategic plan. That was so valuable, and I bet you've never seen that. I bet you've never looked at that document because it hasn't been made available to you, because you've come on the commission since that. So I think it'd be really helpful before we say, let's create an instrument to really look at that strategic plan, because that's what guides what they do, and it spoke exactly to this.
That's
Like, I
exactly
think
right. Yeah,
that's already
yeah.
in place. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think your point is spot on, and if we
It's already
could,
been done.
it's already been done. So if we could look at that, make it available to the new commissioners and maybe revisit that, because I can remember soon after that was made, just kind of the pride I would sit here like, oh, we are right, we are spot on. That is exactly what we are doing. So I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
If we, as commissioners, with the aid of a very skilled administrative team, can be armed
You bet.
with the best information, we can head off a lot of the obstacles
Agreed.
and threats that we perceive for the commission.
Well, like would Masterpiece Theater fit into those 4 conditions?
It may. It does it.
Or Antiques Roadshow?
It may or may not.
Okay.
It's educational.
It's not Arkansas, though.
Yeah. Masterpiece
necessarily.
Theater.
It's not Arkansas.
Yeah.
How-
But that doesn't mean that it's not worthy. It just means, gosh, if something hits all 4, maybe we ought to be doing that. Or taking from the strategic plan that we should be focused on the things that fulfill our mission at the highest percentage.
I'm not going to take a motion away from you, but I would offer.
You would like to table it, or?
I really would, until that gets in your hands and you look at it, and we maybe
Good point. Good point.
we refocus, kind of recalibrate ourselves, but also just inform ourselves about what they already use internally, so that we're able to
Well,
defend that publicly.
And I would
think that's
I would
spot
ask
on.
those of you that have been on the commission far longer than I, please propose something like this.
Should have.
Bring these
Yes.
ideas so that we can move in one as
Absolutely.
one organization.
Well, just
Makes
let me
sense.
ask you, our I don't know, Lindsay, it might be our most popular, but the high school sports championships, which we used to tell Arkansas stories about Arkansas people, and I think it sounds like with 60% of the people of our viewers watching it, it's probably our most popular. Okay, does that fit in there?
Well, in this metric that I've described,
Yeah.
it would hit all 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it would, I would, yeah.
How does this address, because a lot of what we do is broadcast and beyond, you know. So Arcan, for example, is not broadcast. Arkansas Live is not broadcast. A lot of the engagement that we do may or may not be tied to a particular broadcast. So does this include?
It could, and since we're going to table it, I would just encourage
Let's think
the
about it.
team to think about it. This was mainly focused on what the general public sees on broadcast, and how we all know that the national opinion about public radio, public television blows back on us.
It's true.
And so I think if we can make a case for what our core values are with this strategic plan and so forth, that we're going to be better armed to fend off those, because, well, that's them, but this is us.
There's only us.
That's it.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Good point.
Good point, good thoughts.
So I will
I agree
withdraw the
about
motion.
Okay,
And-
we'll look at that. And,
And
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we were just having a,
Whispering.
sorry, a sidebar over here, and I don't know, is that right, Ann, that, is there a certain percentage that you have to accept the national programming? I don't know the answer to that.
Yes.
So
What
that,
is-
you
what
see,
is
so
that
we
number?
need to
Yeah.
kind of,
That's a good
yeah.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
That would be
I mean, we have
helpful.
flexibility, but there are certain things that,
Yeah.
in order to be a member station,
Right, so that's gonna
you have
speak
to meet
to
those
this.
the
Yes.
PBS rules.
That'd be very
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't remember that number.
Yeah.
I think I've been
You have
told.
another one, Gary?
this is my, is
Also for,
That's what-
also for
Carson,
CPB.
does anybody
they
even know
have
who
in
Johnny
their
Carson
rules.
is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
My final motion, Mr. Chair. I move to direct the executive director and/or her designees to create and publicly post a user-friendly, step-by-step guide as to how Arkansans may collaborate with Arkansas PBS to create relevant content. Progress shall be reported at the Commission's next regularly scheduled meeting.
Motion made. Is there
It
a
doesn't
second?
mean that we're approving everything. It doesn't mean that we're creating something so people can just flood our inbox or whatever it is. It means what it said. We, as a public content creator and distributor, there should be no mystery as to how your friends from Northwest Arkansas or the Renault brothers or Larry Foley or how any other content creators get to collaborate. And I think this would open the door to keep some of those folks home and to get ideas that we wouldn't normally get from just us.
I agree, and I'll also throw into the discussion, because we did have a process earlier where, it was on the website, and it became a capacity problem for us with a very small staff, because you want to give full consideration to everything that comes in. And so we were really, with a small staff, unable to respond to those things in a timely fashion. So that has to be solved as well. I mean, it is something that we have always we strive for, and we are consistently reaching out to the different film groups and all the people in the state that we can, to let them know that they can bring their ideas here. But there was something about a broad, wide open thing that created so much that there was just no way that we could evaluate it and treat each one of them with the respect that it deserves. So that's just something that needs to be addressed in that.
Well, and I think that it's permissive, that very well. In fact, I think I'll use this analogy, and you'll know this one well. There's a big disconnect between what the Arkansas Film Commission does and is charged to do and what the public thinks it does. Many people in the public think that the Arkansas Film Commission is there to facilitate their idea for a screenplay and get it up and going and do. It's not.
Right.
It is to facilitate production of greenlit finance projects in Arkansas. So I think you can have that criteria of want to provide content for people. You don't even have to have a submission. These are the things you have to do. One of them may be bring funding, where are you in the process? But it's just creating sunshine on what many people believe is something that's unattainable. And how do we let Arkansans of all ages know that there's opportunity here? But it requires something on your end. I don't want to create an added burden. I just want transparency for how to do it, because I know a lot of these filmmakers, and I'm curious, well, how'd you get that deal? How did you do this? And I'm sure a student who's making their first short.
Next time, come to the film forum down in Hot Springs, because we explained a whole lot of that. We had sessions down there and a lot of local filmmakers. So come see that.
I understand, but that's at a film forum. When people, we need it to be to the masses. We need to pull back the cover and let it very accessible on the how-to, and not how to make a film, but how to collaborate with the team that's here.
Would that include find us at or get information, or if it's submitted here, it will go to like a pipeline, maybe even that goes to that? I don't know.
It's permissive, but I would think, especially initially, is you don't want submissions because there comes legal responsibility. But so people know, oh, if I do this, this, and this, I could potentially have a partnership with our state's flagship public television station. There was your guys had you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you were a good shepherd for them. We all have those people in our. Yeah, so we'll just put your, so this is the guy that did it for them.
I like that. That takes care of the capacity.
How do I get to be a star in one of these things like Gary? That's what I want to be.
Practice. That's the old joke.
Okay.
That's it. Mr.
So it's like things I don't have a problem with. It's just capacity and bandwidth, and I think Sashi and Courtney are probably going, "Oh my gosh."
Well, I mean,
we
it is.
discussed it and debated how to do it, you know.
We have a small staff, and so like making productions plus it seems like we would need some dedicated people because some are making films, some are evaluating films, which we love being a part of that community. But yes, we are there's only, I believe, 11 of us that are producers, actual producers filming in this station. So if we make a kids show and we make ideas and we make sports and we do this, you can calculate all that, right?
Yeah, and within our capacity, we, just so you know, and it's been an ongoing conversation of how to work with more and more independence, and we have. If you look at the difference between now and 2017, the number of external producers and local producers that we do some work with, it has increased a lot. So the question is how to make it open, how to put sunshine in, as you say, and at the same time with our small staff, which has grown smaller every year that I've been here. So people have more of a job than they've ever had.
I really envision this as almost just a single page.
Right.
No, you may even say, though we're not accepting submissions at this time,
Right.
these are the step-by-step. For instance, if someone came to you and they had 100% funding, that may be something that you would be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might pick but it's not something that you have to respond to or have to evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
It really is about sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, having been in this industry for so long, it's a mystery how things happen. And I thought in public television, we ought to at least be transparent about how do you get something on the air. And maybe it takes somebody 10 years to do it or whatever, but at least they should know how it works. And I just think that's a healthy.
So Gary, I agree with you. Veronica, Lindsay, and I have been working on this web page where it's kind of a fill-out form. Do you have funding? What is this about? What are your broadcast specs? Or what specs did you use? Because there's a certain quality that we wouldn't put out there. And we're drafting it right now. All these questions, let us know in a real way what your project is about. Because, the elevator pitch doesn't tell us all those other things we'll have to know. And we can put in some of these checkpoints of, explain to us how this fits in with the mission of Arkansas PBS. Explain to us how it may be educational. All those things we can because we're still drafting this form that's a form for the public. So all filmmakers can key it in. We're just still working on it.
Well, see, that's such great news.
Yeah.
And that fits wholly within this because at the next meeting, you'll be able to report progress. And again, it didn't say report completion. It just meant we have a record that it's a priority. And it seems like it already is. Mm-hmm. So I would submit, yes, ma'am.
Call the question.
Okay. Call the question. Okay, we've had a second. We called the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. And I will say, Sajni, dadgummit, you're ahead of us one more time.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we're gonna.
And all of a sudden, you're ahead of us with your.
Oh, yes, we were ahead, and we've been working. Because there are a lot of people who reach out to us, but maybe not with the information we need. We, going back and forth, talking about it isn't getting us anywhere, so we're really putting it out there where we prompt them, here's what we need to know about this.
What's going to be on it?
What's on the local showcase?
You
How
want me to
long
tell
is
you?
it? How
It's
long
not
is it?
long, 5, 6, well, it can be longer or shorter. Which one? Mine's a little bit longer. But I don't need it to be. I can tell Brian that we'll take something out. You want me to do that?
Sure, Nance has.
Oh, Nance.
Excuse, it is the final round of our moot court competition, and Governor Hutchinson and Judge Adrian Nelson and Cindy Thayer will begin at 3, so I'm already a little bit pushing it. So may I be excused?
Yeah, tell Governor Hudson I wouldn't let you go.
I told her to go 10 minutes ago.
Yes. Okay.
Do we want to do this? Or
Thank you so
pass?
much. Appreciate your comments.
Safe travels.
I have all these readings.
Okay, where were we though?
Would you like us to shorten this? Or
I enjoy the local showcase.
Okay.
Show that really
Yeah,
All
go
right.
ahead, go
Here we go.
I mean, we could maybe leave
So, of course, we mentioned already PBS, Arkansas PBS's Mystery League, locally produced, filmed here with Arkansans, both in cast and crew. The creatives who wrote and produced and directed this are our own staff. And we got a sneak peek, so I'm kind of giving you embargoed stuff, a sneak peek of Mystery League with the national and international, I don't think we're saying that, international delivery of Mystery League. So let's play it.
On PBS Kids, there's a mystery brewing.
Mystery League is a mystery book club. We read mysteries. We don't solve them. Where is everyone? Why us?
Well, you're detectives, right?
A real-life mystery in Mulberry Springs.
Who is Sammy the Sloth?
My science teacher is a robot.
You've got to be kidding me. Troublemakers from another planet.
From another planet?
Four-headed monsters or Sasquatch sightings.
Sick.
We're on the case. The Mystery League works best when we work together.
This mystery will plague us no more.
Thank you, Mystery League, for solving this mystery. Join the detectives. Watch all new Mystery League now on PBS Kids.
So our next very special program, we have been working very hard on this, is it's a historical documentary on Johnny Cash and Daisy Bates, and legislators voted in. They would be our representatives from Arkansas at our nation's capital. So it was very special to put this together with the artist who made the statues, and it comes out 2 weeks from today on broadcast. So this is just this is the trailer. So we'll show that.
When the students of Little Rock walked alone through the mob, you cried with us, but we had to walk it alone.
It kind of tells a story about how we used to live. We loved it very much back in Arkansas on the cotton farm.
Number one choice for this ballot was Daisy Bates. It looks like Johnny Cash walks the line, so congratulations to those two great Arkansans.
We want our memories through our statues to tell the story of Arkansas.
Most of my figures that I create on my own, most of those stories are about destiny.
She was somebody that wouldn't let go until she saw some progress.
These amazing artists who have so much to say and have so much influence all around the world came from these very humble beginnings.
Everybody at the Johnny Cash show that night, he was only singing to them.
Grew up in rural Arkansas, blue collar Americana.
That sense of they're just the little kid from wherever.
So that premieres. We do plan, and we're going to make educational resources. This will be one of those historical documentaries I think will be perfect for especially the high school grade students and so on. So I'm so proud of that documentary. The next that we have not, it's not to that point because it hasn't broadcasted yet, but we absolutely will.
It will.
Oh,
promise
it's
you,
just,
go out nationally.
it's amazing. And, you know, the Johnny Cash estate gave us the music for it, you know. They don't, we're just so, March 20th, 2 weeks from today. And there is a,
I mean, it's one.
it's one.
Okay.
And that was a unique challenge for us, tell both stories. They both were meaningful. They did not I don't know if they ever met. So their stories, but we were able to infuse the spirit of what they meant to us in Arkansas.
The proposal originally was to make two really short things, one about Cash and one about, and you know, we looked at it as a creative team and said, you know, it needs to be something that can play festivals, that can get national distribution, and tell a story in a way that is going to be bigger and more moving. I promise you, you will be moved. You know.
How long is it?
It's 56:46.
Yeah. We know exactly.
It's an hour slot. So
Isn't that like the time limit for American Masters? I think it's out. Those are
Probably, because we typically go with the time that National would do, just in prep that they may pick it up.
That's
So
great.
yes, we always go with those same ones. It's amazing, and I hope you all are able to come to the screening.
19th.
The day prior to the broadcast, it's at is it Robinson Hall? Robinson Center. Let us know if you're coming, and we'll get you. We'll reserve seats for you, so you have a good spot. So yes, very, very special. You know, and we show when they go to D.C. the governor's in it, a lot of the congressmen, and lots of cameos in it. So
Yeah, there's a couple of legislators that are going to really love their moments too. I can tell you, because you know, they
It's
led.
emotional.
You know, they led on this, and
Yeah.
they have some great moments. And
Yes. So we're going to take a moment. It's been a long day, but we're going to do this. This is actually good for the brain. I know educationally, we're going to watch the Arkansas Live. We bring you a front row seat to things that you may not be able to go to. So, of course, a lot of us have kids or other things,
And
but
not
we will
even
bring
you,
it to
like
you.
the people in small towns. That's
Yeah.
what I always think of.
Absolutely.
You know, that either if they drove there, they couldn't get in, or, you know, it's
Right. So we're going to
access-
listen to
accessible.
Yo-Yo Ma. This was a week ago. The guy who's streaming this is the one who directed it, Brian. Okay.
Yay.
And we'll listen to just a minute of Bach Cello Suite Number 1 in G major. at Crystal Bridges. So we are kind of their live stream partner, and so we get to do stuff like that, which is wonderful. Okay, just one more. They're kind of separate, but they're together. I'm going to show you the basketball and quiz bowl promo. Basketball is next week. Thursday, March 13th is 2A and 3A. March 14th is 4A and 5A. Saturday is 6A and 1A. And also this year is the 40th anniversary of the Governor's Quiz Bowl. And that is this April, so it will happen before we see you again. So let's look at those two promos, and I just have one more after that.
If you grew up playing basketball in this state, you recognize their names. Isaiah Joe, Bobby Portis, Malik Monk. They may be playing in the association now, but they got their start here. You want to find out who the next Shakina Strickland, Kristen Williams, or Austin Reeves is? Just tune in starting March 13th, and it runs all weekend long. For all the ways to watch, just log on to myarpbs.org/sports.
Are you ready for Quiz Bowl 2025? It's the 40th year of the most exciting academic competition in Arkansas, and it is live right here on Arkansas PBS. It's the Arkansas Governor's Academic Competition Quiz Bowl State Championship. Schools from all over the state square off right here in this studio to see who will come out on top. Don't miss a single question. Tune in or stream on the PBS app. Saturday, April 26th, starting at 9 a.m.
So, some people may not know, AAA is over both of these, Quiz Bowl and sports. So, this is for those students. Okay, last one. We always do stories during sports to share our Arkansas stories. And I usually quiz you guys. I won't do that today. But one of the most influential high school basketball coaches in Arkansas history is Charles Ripley, also known as Coach Rip. And
when I think about Coach Ripley, this is a guy that every day he wakes up, he wants to make the world better with basketball in it.
Coach Rip, welcome to the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. He's affectionately known as Rip, or Coach Rip. And for 3 decades, he's knocked them dead as the head basketball coach at Little Rock Parkview.
When I was in junior high, at that time, right before you went to high school, you had to take a vocational test. A couple of weeks ago, the score come back, the counselor comes in and says, well, Charles, we just couldn't find anything that you had was strength of interest or anything. I said, yeah, because I'm going to be a coach and be a dang good one, and there wasn't any coaching questions on that test.
Rip will definitely be known at the end of the day of being the basketball coach.
I want to thank my right hand and my left hand man, Coach Flanagan.
Came over at 89. Rip asked me, he knew he was losing an assistant, asked me to come over and work with him, and the rest is history.
If you ever see Coach Ripley and his body style, he's a little short, little round, stubby guy. There's no way. He couldn't even been a point guard, but had such a passion about the game that he made that passion his own. And it came out in his players, and the records and the championships and all that speaks for itself.
We measure success at Parkview by winning championships. We want to be the last team standing. Parkview is basketball. It's basketball, man.
You got to understand about those Patriot athletes. Number one, I spoiled them. Yeah, they know it.
He never thought twice about what it would cost to get into a game or what time his van full of aspiring young athletes might come rolling in the wee hours of the morning. He has no children, yet he's been a dad of sorts to hundreds of youngsters across our state.
His thing was, if I create great relationships with my players, those players are going to go out and they're going to perform. And if they go out and perform, we're going to win a lot of games. And if we win a lot of games, we're going to win championships.
I mean, they gave 110% for Rip. And hey, you couldn't blame him, man, because he was just like a father figure to him. I mean, some of the guys that couldn't afford it, man, he fed them at night after games and stuff. And he would do anything for you. He would even let you have his car, man, to go out on a date and all that kind of stuff. I tried to talk him out of that kind of stuff, but he wouldn't listen. He was just that kind.
He was imparting lessons. He was imparting anything he can give you to the day he died. And the fact that he probably spent his last dime, everything he got, on his players. That was his passion, that was his family, and he just kept giving.
Charles Ripley has been a difference maker, touching the lives of thousands along the way.
A week before that, I'd been out there to see Rip. It looked like everything was okay, everything was fine. At some point, he thanked me more that day than he ever have. You know, I should have caught that out right off, but I didn't.
If you could say something to him now, what would you have said?
Well, I love you, big guy, and I kept that tradition going for you.
How fortunate can a man be to decide what he wants to do at 12 years old and start preparing to do that and get to do that the rest of his life? Couldn't play, wasn't an athlete, but I wanted to coach all my life, and I fulfilled my dream.
So that's the local content. I must say, Eric White, one of our producers, did that piece. He was also one of the film directors on Mystery League and one of the directors on Passage. So I always like to mention who did the piece. So that's it for mine.
Veronica?
So I don't want to follow that.
How long is it?
I just have 3 30-second promos.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That we can do.
Yep. So the first one is one that we talked about last time. We talked about kids content. We have a new show that features an autistic main character and explores the work and play between Carl, the collector, and his friends. So we'll take a quick peek at that.
On PBS Kids, it's Carl the Collector.
Hello, Rock Collection.
Carl collects things.
The stickers are organized into special categories.
He collects a lot of things.
What's that? My bouncy ball collection.
Including an amazing group of friends.
We made you this friendship bracelet. For me?
So add Carl the Collector to your collection.
What's more important than a collecting mission? Nothing. Let's go.
Carl the Collector. Watch now on PBS Kids.
And I did want to say, too, because we've been talking about literacy, in January of this year, PBS Kids announced a new animated series that is specifically for 3 to 5-year-olds for early literacy skills for preschoolers. And that is called Phoebe and Jay, and it's going to premiere this fall. So just wanted to throw that out there, specifically literacy-specific show on PBS Kids coming this fall. And now we're going to switch to some different types of programming. Call the Midwife, Season 14. It is a beloved favorite. We've entered the 1970s and new challenges, so we'll take a look at that.
You're a mother-to-be, and I'm your midwife. The more you tell me, the more I can help you.
The Board of Health have declared war on Nonata's house.
What are we going to do, sister?
We are going to fight back.
This is our place in the community. We are going to do this together.
And finally, our viewers love a good period drama, and one of the beloved authors of all time, Jane Austen. This new 4-part series, it's coming in May before our next meeting, and it looks at Jane's letters being burned by her sister, and this is based on a novel, so we'll take a look.
Ready to let my beloved sister Cassie go. Jane Austen,
You're saddled with me forever.
your sister understood affairs of the heart better than anyone.
She warrants a substantial biography where we might discover the real Jane Austen.
Did you find any letters from Jane?
Not a single one. There is no greater comfort in this world than a sister.
And that's our national showcase.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we've all talked a lot. I've talked way too much, but anybody want to make any final comments?
I just want to thank you for your leadership.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is a great meeting. It's one of the best meetings we've had. You know, it's just wonderful. So with that, I'm going to ask Gary to make one more motion today.
Do not come back again.
Motion to adjourn, if you would.
Mr. Chairman, it's my honor. I move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Now, where's lunch?
It's right out there. Is the door open? Because if it's not, I'm tearing it down.